There we go. It's looking like we're live. I think I'm a minute late. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing? In case you are watching, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Dustin Cormier, and welcome to another episode of How to Rock Spirit. Gosh, I hate having to do this. I gotta figure this out. Widget, right-click to manually. Once stream is live. We are live. So in case anybody's watching, I'm gonna have to try to reconnect to YouTube so that I can talk to you guys on the YouTube chat. So if you're watching, as this is a community show, a community broadcast, feel free to make any comments that you like. We'll see them here in our YouTube comments, and we'll talk about them. Hi, Nay West, my friend Goosey, and Rose Kelly. Nice to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming. And it's good to see that the voice is sounding good. I've been having a bit of trouble with my audio, and I'm just starting to get it figured out now. Now, I'd like to get to it just so that everyone who's watching can see what's going on. Hi. My name's Dustin Cormier. This is How to Rock Spirit. Today, we are going to be embarking on a journey to see the nature of Capricorn and Aquarius sun as they come through the chart of a person who has a strong emphasis of the dragon in their chart. We say it's Saturn-ruled sun, so it's Capricorn and Aquarius, in the year of the dragon. But keep in mind that you could get something out of this reading if you have any prominent placement of the dragon in your chart. Whether that's in Chinese astrology, we know that there's the year sign, there's the month sign, and there's the day sign, and there's also the hour sign. I don't always mention that one, but that's there too. That really activates and opens up when I think you're about like 36. They say in Chinese that you sort of are acting on your year sign energy up from 0 to 12. Then from 12 to 24, you sort of activate your month energy. And then from 24 to 36, you activate your day energy, your day sign. And then your hour sign is like blooming for the rest of the thing. Yeah. So it's nice to see you, folks. We're going to do our usual little intro stuff here, just so you guys can see what I'm all about. I always like to show the chart of the person who you're getting this information from. I'm Dustin Cormier. I'm a Leo rising. My Scorpio sun is in the 4th house of Leo, and my Sagittarius moon is in the 5th house of Leo. I'm born in the year of the goat. It's 1991. The metal goat. I'm the month of the boar and the day of the water horse. And as we know from Chinese astrology, the day stem is your big thing. So the water of my water horse is the center of my chart. And everything else, the goat, the boar, the horse even, is an adjunct to the main quality of me, which is yang water. That's something we learn about in Chinese astrology. And, I guess I'll say, today we're learning about Capricorn and Aquarius sun coming through the sign of the dragon. I'll explain the Pancha Tattva thing in one moment. I'm just going to show you a little bit of shameless self-promotion. Check out dustincormier.net for more of my stuff. I just released a book that you can find on Amazon. And also check out my band, Bosom, Big Up Sour Mash. We just released a Toonski available for download on Spotify. A whole album of Toonskis, I should say. Now, Cool. Okay, yeah, so thanks for coming, folks. I'm excited to talk about this combination today. I've been thinking about it and thinking what it's all about. We're going to talk about Capricorn and Aquarius first, and its Saturn rulership, as Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn and Aquarius, and seeing how those two sort of mix together. I'm a Tropical Vedic astrologer, so I tend to consider Saturn more than Uranus to be the primary ruler of Aquarius. That's just, that's how the Vedic people have always done it. Might be because they didn't know that Uranus was really there until, way later on. But I still see, to me, there is no exact reference to Uranus being any sort of rulership to Aquarius, just as there's no really any scriptural or any sort of proof that Neptune is connected with Pisces. I'm open to the idea, of course. There's lots of resonance between the themes of the planet and the signs. But I stick to Jupiter being the primary ruler of Pisces and Saturn being the primary ruler of Aquarius. Maybe Uranus could be, in my consideration, an adjunct to the Saturnian nature of Aquarius. Because Aquarius is still Saturn. It's ruled by the Air Pancha Tattva that we're going to be talking about today. Just like Capricorn is, they both are. I'm going to discuss how I think Capricorn tends to be more kind of hard on the outside. They're just sort of like this quiet, reserved thing, which I think is like super sexy personally. I love Capricorns. A girl that I loved the most deeply in my life was a Capricorn sun. And so they have a reserve. They have a sort of tight reserve to them. But on the inside, they've got like a Cancer vibe. Not necessarily Cancer, but, it's the opposite. They can be very sensitive inside. And emotionally, they want to express emotion more than they show on the surface. Now, that's like the femininized, passive energy of Saturn, coming through Capricorn being the cardinal earth sign. Aquarius is a bit more spicy on the surface, and Aquarius looks like it can wheel and deal with anybody, and it can. It's more of a group energy. It's really interested in keeping whatever the group energy has going on, whether it's an enterprise, that it keeps the 10th house going on. Capricorn is the 12th house from Aquarius. So Aquarius stands on Capricorn, and that is to say that Aquarius is ultimately interested in the bottom line. What is the most logical thing that we have to do in this situation? And they'll be chatty Cathy about going about getting it there. Like, we're all having fun, but put the rod in fucking thing and let's, Johnny, we're having fun, but keep working. Aquarius is like that. They have a way of sort of being super, on the surface. That's what I was trying to say. Capricorn is reserved on the surface, but is kind of optimistic and ultimately wants to climb and is kind of cutely genuine in a way, depending on other factors in the chart. We're just talking about the sun. Aquarius is optimistic on the surface, but not really, though. I mean, Aquarius is they're not even optimistic. They're just what do we got to get done? Well, if we got the stuff we need to get it done, I'm not just going to sit around. I'm going to do it. We're going to do it. Because if we don't do it, we're fucked. That's Aquarius's thing. So, emotions, whatever. Who the fuck cares? Let's just do what we got to do. With what we can do. Let's do the best we can with what we can do. And they've kind of got a sort of smile about it, So Aquarius is not as reserved on the outside. But inside, they're kind of pessimistic. They're sort of very hard and rational. Now, when both of these are coming through the sign of the dragon is also a pessimist. In a certain way. I should say that they're a realist. They go by the numbers. They're ruled by the stomach in a way. They're not ruled by it, but they're sort of like Taoist organ energy is the stomach. They kind of go by feel. They're always crunching the numbers in their head, and if the numbers aren't telling them what they're looking for, they're going to listen to their gut, their stomach, and be like, this doesn't work. And it's like a realisticness. They're like, usually when people use their intuition, we consider that as like not realistic or something. There's so many different types of intuition. These people run by a numerical, hard-shelled intuition of the numbers of a project, We're not making our numbers. It's like, like the dragon's not laughing. The dragon is like, well, fuck, what do we got to do the thing? Although the dragon is really like a warrior spirit. It's in the water triad. And it's enthusiastic. It's like water triad coming through the wood, the eastern wood, spring energy. It's a spring energy. And they are enthusiastic. They love to be in the struggle of things. They love having a position where they're looked upon and respected for their position. And they have certain knowledge and of their brand and how their brand or their thing they build can do well in the world. And then when everyone says like, oh my gosh, someone needs to do the thing, dragon is like surfing on the water and being like, okay guys, this is what we're doing and let's do it. And they can be so enthusiastic that they'll like check your alpha and be like, are you with us on this thing? Are you gonna last? And they'll like push you and they'll be like, you better be ready for what I'm doing. Because if you're not, then fucking hit the road because I got big places I want to go. That's the dragon. We can see that there's some confluence when you consider the dragon coming through Capricorn and Aquarius energy. And it's this like, they're both, Earth in Chinese astrology is ruled by Saturn. And the dragon is a yang earth energy. So it's the Saturn energy going like forward. What do we got to do? And it's wood too. Dragon, as anybody knows, is a very special energy. It's considered very special in Chinese. In fact, more children are born in the year of the dragon than any other sign. This is because in China, traditionally, when men are born in the year of the dragon, they are considered to be very strong, very powerful, very driven to deliver, and they'll do well for their family. They'll gain honor for their family, usually. That's the idea as a male dragon. Unfortunately, in today's times, with gender issues and gender equilibrium finding more of a equal place of dignity, we tend we don't have this same attitude. But in China, it's not good if you're a girl born in the year of the dragon, because girls are, in traditional Chinese, they do better when they're attracting what they want instead of having that same driven go hard and get what they want kind of energy. So a dragon girl will fucking say, the family's cute and all, but like I got a will and I'm gonna go and do it. And if they don't support me, fuck, I'm not gonna support them in the long run. And so the Chinese don't think it's good to have a girl born in the year of the dragon. I hope if you're with me on this, you're reading that that's a traditional thing that's kind of silly. It's kind of silly. If you're a family who loves your dragon daughter, she will fucking kick ass for you as much as any fucking man can. The dragon is just honest about what has come through. If there's this stigma in China that I've got to, like I said, people have most children in the year of the dragon. So there's lots of girls who are born in the year of the dragon where the family was like, come on, rolling the dice, get me a boy. And then they get a girl. And then it's like, they're all fucking pissed about it. And the girl feels that. And the girl, being a dragon, is a yang earth sign, and she's connected to the numbers. So she's going to know whether her family supported her or not. And if there's this whole family stigma about it, she's gonna realize that prophecy, but it's kind of their fault. If the family loves the dragon, she'll fight she'll fight to remember, to give back to the numbers that came before. Dragon's big on honor. And Capricorn and Aquarius is, interested in climbing and doing well too. Now, we're going to talk all about these sorts of things once we get to the dragon. For now, what I always like to do is I like to start these discourses with a discussion of the nature of Capricorn, of the sun energy, of Capricorn and Aquarius. Yeah, that's cool, Nay West. I wonder if you meant when you said they're attractive but too serious. I wonder if you meant dragon or Aquarius and Capricorn. I guess you must have meant Capricorn. Oh, cool. That's cool, Nay West. I remember you were talking about it last time. That's cool. I love the tiger because I'm the horse day master, and the tiger and the horse are in the same triangle. So that's awesome, Nay West. I always love people who are, in positive harmony with me and Capricorn. Yes, Capricorn. That's what I figured. What was your sign again, Nay West? I'm trying to think of what it was. But anyway, take your time. I'll see your answer when I come back to the comments again. But for now, for anybody, if you feel like contributing to our conversation, please feel free. What I'm doing here in these series is I'm bringing together the West with the Chinese and bringing them into one singular expression of our energy fields. And it's a new thing. The world's never seen the West and Chinese astrology coming together like this. Not a lot of people are talking about it, although we have some texts that do talk about it, and we're going to go through those at the end of this video. But as for the whole theme of today, feel free to contribute because this is a new, burgeoning, esoteric innovation of esoteric sciences. A new combination of cultural strands that have never met the Chinese in the Western astrology. They've never met until just within the last 200 years because of technology. Today's sign, we are doing Capricorn and Aquarius sun, ruled by Saturn, in the sign of the dragon. Now, I'm calling this the Air Pancha Tattva. What does that mean? Well, the Pancha Tattvas, Pancha means 5, and Tattvas means essences. Now, well, I kind of explained it a bit here. Do you ever notice that when you're reading people talking about the signs, we generally consider in the Western astrology that it comes from, it's sacred geometry. It's, the signs get their qualities by being in a certain placement in the calendar year, right? Aries is Aries. The symbol of the ram was not there first. They didn't look at the sky and see, oh, the sun is in the place where the ram is. That must mean the Aries people are full of that forward-going head energy, the spring, the spiritual inner energy. They didn't get it from the stars. People just saw a bunch of stars and said, well, when the sun is there, it's in the metaphysical archetype of what we would call the top of the head energy. After Pisces, after the past life, you burst into the world from the first house, and that's Aries energy. So they looked at that group of stars and said, let's call it a goat. Let's call it a ram, because the archetypal energy in the calendric sphere is what makes the energy. So we tend to think, in Western speaking, we tend to think an Aries is what it is because it's the start of the zodiac, and that's accurate, and that's a place that deserves it. There's several dials that describe each sign. Aries is also what it is because it's a fire sign, not a fire Pancha Tattva. Oh, well, it is, but Sagittarius is a fire sign, but it's not in the fire Pancha Tattva. The 5 essences is something different, okay? So Aries is a fire sign, and it's a cardinal sign. and it's like the first sign in the zodiac. Most people think that this is all what gives the Aries energy what it is. The Vedic, I'm a tropical Vedic astrologer, and in Vedic astrology, we describe the planetary rulership of the signs. And that's a 5-element system that rests over top of the 4-element system, if you can understand that. So the fire of the Pancha Tattvas is different from the 4-element Western astrology fire. For example, Capricorn, we're talking about Capricorn today, and it's an earth sign. But Saturn is the air Pancha Tattva. So we're going to consider both Capricorn and Aquarius as the air Pancha Tattva in relation to these other 4 symbolic essences of the planets, right? So when people talk about the nature of like Capricorn and Aquarius, they're not just talking about Capricorn as the cardinal earth sign. They're also talking about it as being ruled by Saturn, but it's the passive expression of Saturn rulership. Aquarius is the positive expression of Saturn rulership. But they both have the same agenda, which is Saturn. And they both have very much the same energy. Just expressed differently and with different strengths in combination with other signs and things. Are you guys seeing what I'm at? Okay, good. Now, this is something that I always like to say. Let's see. Let me just do a quick little thing. I always like to say before we get into this that what we're talking about today, especially when we get to the end of these videos, we're going to talk about Capricorn Sun, Year of the Dragon, Aquarius Sun, Year of the Dragon. Those are specifically related to the sun signs. The authors wrote what we're going to, at the end of this video, we're going to do 2 more videos. And it's describing the sun in Capricorn, the sun in Aquarius. And so consider those as being only related really to the sun. That was what the authors had in mind. But when we're talking about Saturn as one of the Pancha Tattvas, one of the 5 essences, we can be talking about not just the sun. If you're an Aquarius rising or a Capricorn rising, or if you've got Saturn in your first house, which is kind of a tough energy to deal with. Saturn always does better in the 7th house. Or if you're in anything, you know, if you're a Pisces rising and Saturn is conjunct your Jupiter, that means Saturn is conjunct your first lord. The first lord is like the carrier of the rising sign energy. So whatever rules your rising sign, if it's conjunct Saturn, you might get something out of this reading if you're a dragon. Because the physical doorway to your universe is like, contains the energy of Saturn, right? But generally speaking, when we read about the nature of Saturn at its essence, we have to consider the archetype that we're expressing it through and the nature and health of the planets that we're talking about. This is what I mean. When you read this reading, we're going to talk about Saturn at its essence. Now, if we're talking about someone with an Aquarius rising or Capricorn rising, you've got to, depending where your Saturn is, your Saturn might not be that healthy. It might be in a bad place. It might be plagued by malefics. It might be in the 6th or 8th or 12th house, or it might be with the 6th or 8th or 12th lord. All of this is coming from Tropical Vedic Astrology. I'm in Ryan Kirksack's Astrology Apprenticeship course, and that's where I get a lot of these definitions of what makes a strong planet. So, considering that we're not only talking about the sun, but we're also talking about the Aquarius rising or Capricorn rising, just keep this in mind, that the health of your Saturn, the dignity of your Saturn, if it's close to its exaltation, it'll do much better. That's Libra. Whereas if your Saturn is in Pisces or Taurus or closer to Aries, it's not going to do as well. If your Saturn's in your first house, it's not going to do as well, because Saturn does better in the 7th house, being exalted in Libra. So consider all these things. That's what this slide is trying to say. When we do a cookbook style reading of your Saturn energy, you know, you're going to read a lot of things, and it might not resonate with you completely. It might be because your Saturn's in just a dull note in your chart. Now, this is also a sun sign reading, so you've also got to consider the dignity of the sun. As we're about to find out, I think that the sun... Yeah, so the sun doesn't do well in Capricorn and Aquarius. We're going to figure out why. But first I will say, if you're watching this, feel free to pause. Pause this, check out whether your Saturn and your sun have these states of positive dignity. And if they don't, it means that you might have a harder time expressing Saturn energy. If you've got a harder time expressing your Saturn energy, it means that, you know, when we read about how tough Capricorn and Aquarius are, how driven they are to succeed, how tough their emotional reality can be to deal with, because Saturn doesn't necessarily work that well in the realm of emotions, they can get it. They can understand emotions from a sort of like, this is something I have to deal with, and so I'll deal with it. But if you've got a Saturn, if you've got the sun in Capricorn and Aquarius, or Aquarius, and your Saturn is in a bad place like Aries, or just in bad dignity, it's, you know, these emotional troubles will stew up even deeper, especially for a dragon, someone in the year of the dragon. But no matter what, this is kind of what this slide is saying. Am I with you guys? Yeah. No matter what matters is your quality of devotion and surrender to the nature of your own nervous system and your own nature. No matter what your chart looks like, it's, you know, if you've got a chart where the sun is in bad dignity, it's hit by malefics, and it's hard for you to express your sun energy, that's just another challenge. We all have our challenges. We all have imbalances in our chart. I would recommend that you find the stronger points in your chart and try to see if you can't get those stronger points to compensate for your, you know, reality having made it tough for you to express your Capricorn or your Aquarius energy. There's always resources to get from somewhere, or else we wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? So a handful of rice from the lowest is worth as much to Krishna, the great bliss, the great heart intelligence of the universe. A handful of rice from the lowest of its devotees is worth as much as all the riches of a rich Brahmin. You know, if a rich guy is a rich person who's had an easy life and they've got all these possessions and they say, oh, I give it all up for God, versus someone who has been struggling their whole life and they just never got a break, and that comes to the point where they could just fucking throw it all away, but for some reason they just are still resolute and still working positively on self-realization and the balance of their nature. That's worth as much to Krishna. That's worth as much to the intelligence that is in everything as the other guy who had an easy life and gave it all away for that same principle. It's all relative. In other words. Am I making sense, folks? Let's see. Yes. Nay West, you're a Libra rabbit. I remember now. Capricorn and Libra can have troubles with each other because they're square. They're both cardinal. But Saturn, the Capricorn energy, is exalted in Libra. So you might get frustrated and you might get rubbed the wrong way by Capricorn, but they probably get a lot out of you. Nay West is a Libra person. Sagittarius Wood Rat. Nice to meet you, Constance. Thanks for coming. Sagittarius Wood Rat. Well, oh, we won't do that one for a little while. The first videos we did was fire fire Pancha Tattva, so it's Leo, Aries, and Scorpio, in the year of the rat. So we won't get to wood until probably 48 episodes in or something like that. But I'm glad you're still here. I think that there's still lots to be gained from these videos. Capricorn, this video show me. Oh yeah, cool. Cool. Nice, Nay. You sure do, Nay West. Someone's got to bring that party. Lord knows it'll be the Libra. Okay. I keep doing a hair check because, my hair was, not fully dried today. It's just my fucking water horse trying to make himself look fancy for everybody. There we go. I'm just, every now and then I'm going to do a hair check. Okay, we're good. Let's keep doing the important things. Okay. Now, first thing we're going to talk about, this is the sun's permanent planetary relationships. So, I will say first that the real important picture here, this is going to hurt your sun energy a little bit because the sun is not friends with Saturn. Or Saturn is not a friend to the sun, we should say. So when the sun is in Capricorn or Aquarius, the sun has difficulty expressing its inherent nature. The sun is its own planet. It's, it's not all of you. The sun is a planet which has a nature, and the nature of the sun, being a sort of fiery thing, does well and does better in certain places than others. Aquarius is the 7th house from Leo. And sun doesn't do well with 7th house stuff either. So the sun in Capricorn or Aquarius will make it tougher to express the sun energy. But if you've got a good Saturn, that's honestly going to get figured out. It's a good thing to have your sun energy in a sign whose ruler is doing very well. So, if you really want to know, the dignity of your sun in Capricorn or Aquarius, see where your Saturn is. If Saturn is in what we usually say is the sort of the femme planets, even though Saturn and Mercury are really neutral. Saturn's in Aquarius or Capricorn, it does well because Saturn's ruled by Saturn. If it's in a Mercury-ruled sign, such as Gemini or Virgo, it'll also do well. And if it's in Taurus or Libra, it's actually exalted in Libra, so it'll do really well there. You'll notice that this is all air and earth signs in the 4-element sense. Gemini is an air sign, Aquarius is an air sign, Libra is an air sign, Capricorn is an earth sign, Virgo is an earth sign, Taurus is an earth sign in the 4-element sense. And these 3, Saturn, Mercury, and Venus, all generally do well in each other's signs. They're like half of the planets, and then these 4 are just sort of their own sort of half. Think of it that way because there's a lot of wisdom in that comes from that's a derivation that comes from Vedic astrology. And if Saturn's in Sagittarius or Pisces, it's kind of neutral. It's not necessarily good or bad. But Saturn has a tough time in Leo, Aries, Scorpio, and Cancer because Saturn tends to be likes to be objective. If it's gonna hold down on the objective nature for the rest of the chart, it wants to look at the numbers, it wants to look at what's fair, it wants to be taken out of the subjectivity of humans. It's not about, when it comes to what Capricorn and Aquarius sort of rules over, they don't want to have to deal with a Leo person or an Aries or a Scorpio or a Cancer. They don't want to have to deal with people who are like, I'm good in this business because of my willpower. Or Cancer is I don't have to work as hard because look at how good I am at nurturing. Aquarius and Capricorn don't like that. They say, look, forget about this, what you think you contribute to the group. Just fucking be there on time, be there, and be responsible for your job in the slot that you're given. If you try a little too hard, I'm not going to like it. If you don't try enough, I'm especially not going to like it. Remember, this is especially true for the dragon. The dragon is an earth sign that's watching all these numbers and is wood and wants to ultimately have a team. Dragon's good at getting a team together that can fucking conquer. Now, if the Capricorn or Aquarius person, if their Saturn is in any of these, Leo, Aries, Scorpio, or Cancer, they're going to try to hold and be objective about, like, Leo, for example. Like, you guys don't understand, if you've got Aquarius sun if you've got Aquarius sun and you've got Saturn in Leo, you're going to try very hard to show in the group because you're an Aquarius sun. You're going to be working in groups probably and wanting to have like an organization that you work through. And if you've got Saturn in Leo, you're going to be constantly striving to show everybody, look, everybody, I can contribute just as much. And everyone is like, okay, calm down, So Saturn, it gets frustrated when it's in any of these enemy signs. And Sun in Capricorn and Aquarius are already a little bit frustrated by being in the sign of Capricorn and Aquarius. I just want to make sure that I'm being clear what I'm saying here. Wherever your sun is, its health is ultimately defined by what's called the dispositor. So if your sun is in Capricorn, since Saturn rules Capricorn, that planet, Saturn, wherever it is, its dignity, its health in the chart, if it's got trines to benefics, if it's in trine to Jupiter, if it's in a good friendly sign, and its dispositor's doing well, these are all things that help the sun energy. The sun energy can express itself very well in Capricorn if Saturn is healthy. Same thing with Aquarius. But ultimately, the sun has a frustrating time dealing with Capricorn and Aquarius in general. It's just the way that the sun is. The sun prefers to express itself first, Like what'd be healthier is if you had the sun in Leo with Saturn in Aquarius. That way, the sun is interested in its own energy. And then it says, how am I going to express myself the best? Being in Aquarius, it's going to say, well, I'm going to express... The sun is in Leo, and it says the king is doing what's best for the king, and everything else comes after that. Then if the sun is in Aquarius, the king says, well, what's best for me is to be responsible in my group. Right? That's a healthy Saturn in Aquarius. So the sun in Capricorn and Aquarius is not thinking about the king. The sun in Aquarius or Capricorn is thinking, I might be a bit unhealthy, my dignity, I might not be living for what my heart is, but I'm going to be successful and I'm going to climb. And if they do climb, and if they do have a good, strong Saturn, they'll get to express their sun, So keep these things in mind. This note is kind of saying that we're talking about the dominant element of a person's chart, and we're talking about Saturn in this case. But just because you're Capricorn or Aquarius doesn't mean that the Saturn is your strongest energy. This strongest energy thing comes from Shadbala. If Saturn is highest in Shadbala, you'll get a lot out of this. But in any case, this is like saying if you've got the sun in Aquarius and your Saturn is in bad dignity, it means that you're going to have a hard time expressing your sun energy, and a whole big piece of your expression of yourself is going to have a hard time in the world. But, so that's why it says you got to consider everything in respect to the whole horoscope and as the person as a whole. But ultimately, if you have these challenges, if you've got a tough sun and it's and Saturn is in a tough place, it's just another challenge. And you probably have something in your chart to help consciously move yourself in the direction of healing and restoring whatever mix-ups are happening in your Sun and Saturn energy. That's why astrology is so important. Nobody really has a bad chart. If you have a strongly debilitated tone in your planets and in your signs, that is giving you something that you can work on with your intelligence and with your consciousness. If you go to the right people and if you're aware that these things in your chart, you can always deal with them. And if anything, the bigger the challenge, the bigger the reward. So don't consider your challenges as being something that's not to be desired. Am I making sense here, folks? Capricorn. Yep. Thank you, Nay West. Hi, Creepy Kitten. I always love seeing you here. Really glad that you're here joining us in today's discussion. And to everybody else, of course, feel free to make a comment, and I'll do what I can to respond. Of course, and I love rapping and having this public energy. If there's any big questions that will really curtail the discussion, I'll try to, I'll come back on at the end and try to discuss those questions later on in the course of our discussion today. Now, I'm hoping that I'm making sense here, folks. Just going to do a hair check. I usually have a shower way before I do these. I'm just a little bit late to it today. But that's okay. This is turning out good. Now, we are about to talk about the qualities of the Air Pancha Tattva. This comes from Ernst Wilhelm's book, Graha Sutras. I always like to show it. Yeah. Graha Sutras by Ernst Wilhelm. Highly recommend it if you want to know these deeper guts of your planetary sign. And also, just the nature of the planets is just much more... It's really written out in this book, Graha Sutras. Especially considering, Shadbala. I'm ruled so deeply by Mars and by the Sun because I'm a Leo rising, but Mercury is my highest planet in Shadbala. And when I read about the nature of Mercury, it's really in me. Astrology is just so damn diverse, Got to take all these themes and points and find the points of confluence in order to help us know where we ought to be and where we ought to focus our energy at any point in time in life. Got to consider them all. Now, that's where the following text comes from. It's Ernst Wilhelm's Graha Sutras. The person born with an abundance of the air element, and remember, this is not the 4-element Western astrology. I'm not talking about if you've got lots of planets in Libra or Gemini or Aquarius. I'm talking about if you have a prominent emphasis and influence of Capricorn and Aquarius and Saturn in your chart, and if Saturn's a huge part of your energy. The person born with an abundance of the air element. I gotta say that this air element thing, it comes from this relationship. There we go. Fire, ether, water, air, earth. Okay? Jupiter feeds Saturn. Saturn feeds Mars. Mars feeds Venus. Venus feeds Mercury. And then Mercury feeds Jupiter again. That's Saturn's place as the Air Pancha Tattva. That's where this air thing is coming from. So the person born with an abundance of Saturn, the air element, is giving, angry, fair, fond of roaming about, a lord of the earth, difficult to assail, and thin-bodied. That quote comes from Brihat Parashara Horashastra, the results of the 5 elements, the 10th verse. what Ernst does is he takes that scriptural notation and he expounds on it in his own way. And this is the following. This is Ernst's commentary on this line. So the air element, Saturn, has the responsibility of changing and displacing. So thus, the individual with the air Pancha Tattva dominant, they're always giving. They're roaming and traveling. And for the same reason, the air individual does not hold on to any extra weight, and thus they're thin in body. Capricorn and Aquarius can be kind of like this. They're sort of like rather thin because they just put so much energy towards, they're constantly being moved by the wind of their duty. That's what air means in this case. It's kind of like, it's like we have to breathe, you know? Capricorn and Aquarius people would do good with any sort of breathing yoga because we have to breathe. It's like a Saturn responsibility. And if you aren't conscious of your breath, then you're not conscious of your energy. That's a deep, deep, deep wisdom happening there. I got Saturn in Aquarius, and Saturn does well in Aquarius, and I'm very conscientious about my breath energy and how it relates to whether I'm calm, in moments when I should be calm. People who are ruled by the air Pancha Tattva tend to get a sense of this. I've actually got Saturn's like my second most high planet in Shadbala. I've got a deep Saturn energy. And I find that because I'm always consciously aware of my breathing, I'm also very conscientious about where I put my energy and when my energy is ready to be spent. If it's a day where it's like I'm just hanging out and I could be doing anything, I tend to breathe and be calm and conscious, and I save my energy on those days when I'm supposed to rest. Saturn knows how to rest when it needs to, even though it's Mr. fucking workhorse. The reason it can go and endure is because it's so conscientious about like, okay, now's not the time to expend a lot of energy, so I'm going to rest. I'm going to chill. People have a strong Saturn, they'll consciously be like, oh, hey, so I know you're trying to talk to me right now, but I'm just like zoning out and tuning in, so I'm not listening, you know? And then they kind of zone in, right? In that rest moment. And if someone else is trying to like knock them loose and be like, oh, come on, I'm in my Jupiter energy right now, man. Come on, like, let's talk about something fun. They'll be like, if you don't fuck off right now, I'm going to fuck off, and I'm comfortable here. But if you keep going, please feel free, because I'm going to go in the basement and just do my own thing. You know, these people are always conscientious about their breath because it's a responsibility to their whole energy field and to their calmness and their moments of calmness, right? Mind you, if they're so controlling over it, they might find that they, like a lover might come to them in a moment and say, hey, honey, I'm in the mood. And the Saturn person's like, that's cool, but I'm not. And so I have some things that I have to do, and sorry, honey, but I'm just going to have to keep focused right now in order to do what I'm doing, because I've got a long way I've got to climb. And that's part of the air nature that you got to deal with people like this, right? Especially Capricorn and Aquarius Sun can get frustrated when they have to deal with that reality. But Saturn and Venus they're on the same team, like I said, So when Saturn knows that Venus is logical, when Saturn takes emotions as a logical part of its energy field, the Saturn will like script and like say like, I have to make time for my lover. For some people that's annoying because it's like, oh, am I on your appointed schedule to be loving today, But a good positive expression of Saturn will have all of their shit so tight that when Venus comes along, the lover, whether it's a man or a woman, to the lover, to the Saturn person, Venus comes along and says, hey, baby, I'm in the mood. Saturn says, oh, good, I've made time for that, right? Because Venus and Saturn are that outward world responsibilities, emotional body outside of ourselves. So a good, strong Saturn person can deal with Venus well. Someone who is, though, a Capricorn or Aquarius sun who has a weak Saturn will get thrown around by emotions and Venus. They won't be able to deal with Venus well, even though they've set themselves this thing where it's like, I gotta climb this friggin' mountain. And they're gonna keep climbing. It's like, I've got the willpower to get through it. And they might get there. They might be worse for wear because the Venus did not soothe and restore them in the pockets and moments where it could have. And they won't climb, they won't get as far as they would like if they don't deal with Venus with objectivity and emotional impartiality. They might think that they're dealing with Venus properly by just cutting it out. You know, especially the dragon. The dragon's just so interested in the numbers, and they're enthusiastic kind of naturally, so they can deal, a dragon, Aquarius, or Capricorn can deal without Venus more than a lot of signs can. They can just keep climbing that mountain, and the dragon will pull them through. But, you know, it's good for the dragon to know that this Venus thing will carry them farther. If they deal with it logically and objectively, they'll see it as an important part of themselves. And they won't just forget about it. Although with the dragon, a lot of the times it's just like whatever their karma is, okay, do your thing, dragon. Whatever you're going to do, bud. Because they're going to do it. Now, air, with this way that the air thing is, you know, as much as I did just say that they do try to control their own energy field, sometimes too much so. And when they're consciously aware of where they're putting their energy, when something comes along and says, you got to move your energy in a way that you didn't plan, they get angry and they get frustrated, so they get stirred up quickly. So these Capricorn and Aquarius can be easy to anger. But their anger, however, often becomes a source of strength that actually fuels their ambitions and desires. We're going to learn that it's good to have a strong, healthy Mars for Saturn, because then the Saturn will get all this anger and this pent-up desire to do something. And if they got a strong Mars, they'll express it, and that expression will find a logical and rational and ultimately beneficial place for their anger, because they're going to get angry. These people will tend to get angry. Anyone with a strong emphasis of Saturn. I know it too well. But if you can take that anger, that's volatile energy within, and you put it somewhere constructive, and you find a constructive place for that volatile energy, it's just good stuff. It's just good karma. Like I got Mars in Scorpio, and Mars does well in Scorpio. So I do yoga. I meditate. I do videos like this. You know, I get angry in my life, and it's like, well, this Mars is going to find some constructive way to use this pent-up energy, which is so desirous of going somewhere with it. Why don't I spend Friday doing a video like this, because it's constructive, as opposed to me just drinking myself into obliteration to deal with my air, with my desire to be moved by the Dharma, by my responsibilities. So this internal volatile energy of Saturn can be a strength that fuels their ambition and desire. Now, the Air Pancha Tattva person is said to be difficult to assail. And this is very true. Whether you've got a good Saturn or not, Capricorn and Aquarius are fixed in their ways. These people are hardy and tough. Disease has a difficult time assailing their bodies. These people are survivors and much more difficult to overcome than one would think. Mentally, they are also tough, as well as tenacious debaters. Success is a combination of two things: performing great deeds and not being held back, or not allowing yourself to be held back. The individual with the air element strong, They do not allow themselves to be held back under any circumstances, and thus their successes are marked. So they are said to be a lord of the earth. Capricorn and Aquarius want to be able to say that they did well. They're interested in a certain glory. It's like the sun is coming through Saturn. And the sun, it's still the sun energy. The sun wants to say for itself that it found purpose, that its Atma lined up with its purpose, or that the self lined up with the purpose of the Atma, which is the soul. So the sun is going to come through whatever sign it's going to come through no matter what. When it's coming through Aquarius and Saturn, it's going to think its purpose was a sort of greatness that everybody can appreciate. This hurts the sun energy in general because it's not going towards, it's just internal view of what success is. That's a better place for the sun. That's like Leo. It's like no matter, sun in Leo is like no matter how far I get up on this ladder, I know that I'm cultivating a sense of myself and it'll work out. Capricorn and Aquarius can be like if they fail, they're just like, ugh, fuck, I failed. And it's just like a deep knot in their bodies. Depending on other things in the chart, if they got a strong Jupiter, they can probably get through it because Saturn stands on Jupiter. So if you've got a strong Jupiter, you can kind of be like, no matter what, the purpose of me living is for me to learn about myself. So if I go into this job and it didn't work as a Capricorn and Aquarius sun, the strong Jupiter will say, you're learning about yourself. So just keep trying because you should see that that was a good lesson, that failure. These are all things we got to consider, When we think of Capricorn or Aquarius sun, it's just like, oh, Saturn and the sun. So this person must be Saturn. So they must be able to climb the fucking mountain and get it fucking right every time. There's so many things we got to consider in astrology. And I'm trying to get people away from that cookbook sort of mentality by talking about things this way. But in any case, if the Capricorn and Aquarius sun is a little bit sketchy in general because the king is more concerned with the enterprise than with its own kingdom, being the sun. But if the Saturn is strong, they will find their solar purpose in a job that they stuck with that was, not only did they not allow themselves to be held back, I think that Capricorn and Aquarius, ultimately, they don't really allow themselves to be held back. It's a pride for them. It's like, I have to keep going here. If I'm going from Ontario to Montreal for a gig to play music and I get a flat tire along the way, I have to get there. This is something that I said I was going to be there. I'm going to stick to my word and I'm going to friggin' do it. A well-placed Saturn will have prepared for that, though. It's like if you have a crappy Saturn, but you're a Capricorn sun, and you've got Saturn in Aries, where Saturn's debilitated. You've got a Capricorn sun, and you're like, all right, let's go to the gig, and you get a flat tire. Because your crappy Saturn didn't prepare you for that, you're going to be just like, you're going to feel that Capricorn, you're going to feel Saturn crushing your sun, crushing your self-esteem. And you're going to say, I will get there. I will get there. And that's the kind of person that's like, well, here's what's happening now. I'm going to put my bass amp on my back and I'm going to fucking hitchhike there. And then by the time they finally get to the gig, they walked with their friggin' amp and their instruments in their arms the whole way, that when they finally get there, it's a crappy performance. Although the Capricorn sun is just more concerned with the responsibility of having gotten there. But so you see my point, is that a strong Saturn will really reflect how truly well the Capricorn sun or Aquarius sun can accord to its desire to be responsible. Because the sun is deeply desirous of being responsible and doing what it's responsible for well and effectively. and showing everybody that it was a positive contributor to whatever it was that they were all mutually responsible for. Aquarius is more of this sort of group thing of like, we were all responsible and I did my part. Capricorn's more like, regardless of the group thing, internally, I have to just build some consciousness of my own capacity to be responsible. And where Saturn is, by dignity and by everything, will show the snags or the upliftment towards that reality, towards making that they want so bad. We can see here that there's a generative cycle. And we kind of talked about this. Jupiter feeds Saturn. Saturn kind of stands on Jupiter. Before we get into this, I'm just going to check to see if anybody's got any questions. I like to do this every now and then. I'm not sure what you mean here, Nay West. A lot of this is the most sense this has made because it either is too general or lacks information. Maybe it's because of the way I'm talking about Capricorn and Aquarius. Not sure what you mean there, Nay West. But I'm doing what I can right now to underline the nature of Saturn ruling Capricorn and Aquarius as relates to the sun. And we're going to get to dragon when we can. So maybe once we get to the dragon, it'll be a little bit tighter. But if anybody else has anything to contribute, of course, feel free. I lost my thing again, but whatever. Next time I come, I'll have to sign into YouTube again to look at the comments. But for now, let's keep pushing through. We're talking about how Mars draws out the lead of Saturn. Mars gives Saturn a constructive expression of the volatile Dharma energy that it feels. And Mars actually needs Saturn. That's really more of the thing that's being said here. It's always mutual, but we can see that there's a generative cycle here. If you have a strong Jupiter, that generates an important sense of power for Saturn. And that's what I was talking about. No matter how many times Saturn falls, if it's got a good Jupiter, it'll say, this whole falling, it's like Sagittarius, you know? Sagittarius just keeps getting up. No matter how many times they fall, they just keep getting up. So if you've got a strong Jupiter in your chart, Saturn is going to say, no matter how many times I fall, I know that I'm learning about myself with these constant failures or whatever. And that standing on that Jupiter, Saturn will do very well, even if you've got a weak Saturn, you know? The Saturn might really never find some ideal placement for itself, but the buoyant Jupiter energy will find, you'll probably, if you've got a strong Jupiter, if it's in like trine to your ascendant, or if it's in your ascendant, or if it's if it's trine to your first lord, then you will have lots of support, spiritual support, friends who will guide and who will push you to keep going, even though your Saturn never finds what it wants, never finds the perfect place to express its desire to be responsible. And that's kind of what this whole thing is showing us. Saturn also is what Mars stands on. Anybody who wants to do the Mars thing well needs a sense of duty and healthy detachment and fulfillment. Saturn gives us a sense of a fulfillment, no matter what. It's like the sense, again, Saturn is conscious about like resting when it needs to rest and then going forward when it needs to go forward. If you've got a really strong Mars with very little Saturn, Mars will be like, we need more. We need more of this expression. I've got more anger that I've got to express constructively. And, you know, so a strong Mars with weak Saturn might be someone who, like, is so into yoga or going to the gym that they're always expressing this energy, but they don't ultimately do anything with their life. They just express constructively a lot of fucking hateful, fiery Mars energy. Not necessarily hateful, but urgent, you know? You can pause this to just, you know, get a little sense of this. But Saturn kind of does give us a certain sense of duty. And this does tell us a little bit about the nature of Saturn. It, you know, Mars is about desire and having many desires to fulfill. Saturn is like, I'm going to make responsibilities for myself. And this will be a channel for Mars's desires. Note that Mars is exalted in Capricorn, right? There's a real deep wisdom there when we read this. Mars wants a channel to express its desirous energy through. And if you have a strong Saturn, you might even have a weak Mars, you know? And your Saturn might not be driven as much. But Saturn will just still keep plodding along no matter what. I've got these responsibilities and I'm going to do them. It's Mars that allows this Capricorn or Aquarius person to be very effective on the job and make sure no problems go wrong. Mars is the sort of like problems and logic that we've got to deal with now. And it really helps Saturn a lot. But Saturn is the long-standing, like, you know, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix every problem, but I'm going to have some problems because I've got this job and I'm going to stick to it. Capricorn and Aquarius are, like, you know, concerned with having jobs or a job or some responsibility that it has to stick to. It's a strong Mars that will allow you to not only step up to the plate, but also smack it out of the park. That's what Mars does. Saturn will just be content to go up. You know, even if they miss their 3 shots, they'll be disappointed, but they showed up on time, they were in their uniform, and, you know, even if they play an average game, Saturn's satisfied. Saturn just wants what's average. It's Mars that'll give you a desire to do a lot with this thing that you've been given. And of course, as we've discussed, Jupiter is critically important to Saturn too, because Jupiter, it's different from Mars. It's not necessarily desire. It's just more of like the guru. In Vedic astrology, we call Jupiter the guru, and Jupiter will give Saturn the sense that everything is going to... I'm talking about a strong Jupiter. If you've got a well-placed Jupiter, if it's with your first lord, if it's in your first house, Jupiter does very well in the first house, then Saturn will always be pushed along positively by the sense that life is a good thing to be living through. It's even when Saturn has lots of suffering, lots of, you know, pain, the Capricorn or the Aquarius sun person is trying to fulfill their destiny and no jobs are coming to them. Nothing is being attracted in their energy field for them to have these positive jobs or this, you know, stage where they can express their ability to be responsible. Like, that's all Capricorn and Aquarius wants. And if they can't get that, the strong Jupiter will say, well, let's roll the dice. You know, let's like try this job. We got nothing going on. Let's just try this job. And if it doesn't work, we're learning more about what we are. I'm learning a bit more about what I am as Aquarius, as a Capricorn, as my whole chart. And if this one doesn't work out, you know, I don't know why, but the ether's coming in from the top of my skull, and I just feel like no matter what, I'm just going to keep going. And I'm going to hit something eventually. That's Sagittarius' style. They're like this archer that is like, I don't know if I'm going to hit this thing perfect, but I got a whole sling full of arrows, and I'm just going to keep going. And when I run out of arrows, I'll find more. I'll work it out, you know? Let me just bang. Let me just spend it. Spend it and send it. So Jupiter can be very useful to anyone who's dealing with these Saturn things. And consider the dashas. You know, we're going to talk probably more about the dashas at the end of this, but consider that if you're Aquarius sun or Capricorn sun, and you're in your Jupiter dasha, what you should be focusing on right now is the waves of the universe just like calling you to accept that you're going to fall sometimes. As a Capricorn or Aquarius person, if you're in any Jupiter period, if Jupiter's transiting your natal Saturn, if Jupiter's transiting your first house, if Jupiter's transiting your ascendant lord, you know, when Jupiter goes through any of these places, or like, you know, especially Jupiter transiting your moon, these are the times when you can be learning the wisdom of Jupiter, which Saturn is not necessarily entirely inclined to learn. Jupiter is neutral to Saturn and vice versa. They're not like best friends or anything like that. So Saturn can get they're not necessarily inclined to see purpose in life. And they don't care. Aquarius and Capricorn can both be pessimistic. It's like, oh, this fucking everything sucks, but I'm going to do what I've got to do because I'm not like all those other idiots who aren't paying attention to the logical reality of life. I'm going to get there, and they grit their teeth and they say, I'm going to get there. It's Jupiter that allows them to see that feeling like there's a purpose in life is logical. Just like with their emotions, you know, Saturn sort of feeds Venus in this cycle, and there's a mutual relationship. They deal with their inspiration in sort of a similar way that they deal with their emotions, which is, if they're wise, they'll see that people who are deeply inspired by things tend to do well because there's a buoyant energy there. A person with a sorely placed Saturn or a strong Saturn, but with a weak Jupiter, they just won't get a sense of this. They won't care. It's just like, you know, those people are blindly faithful because they've gotten a life where they probably were spoiled and they were babied, and it's just, oh, you know, I don't care. I don't care that those people are inspired and that they do well because they're inspired. All I care about is my own responsibilities, and I'm going to make them there, you know? So Jupiter gives us an inspiration to think like, you know, maybe life is more than just these numbers and these duties. This would especially be good for a dragon person, because dragon does well with anything. You know, dragon is a deeply wood type, and wood is also ruled by Jupiter. As we can kind of see, I messed up here and called ether wood. The dragon does well with a strong Jupiter energy, because the dragon's kind of pessimistic and realistic too. And they just kind of like take to the Capricorn and Aquarius energy of just like, you know, being desirous of just doing what's acceptable or what's needed for the job on time. Dragon sees this in a cultural scope and says, what is something right now that the world needs that's a tough reality that they could get something out of? It doesn't need to be super friggin' glamorous. It just needs to be realistic to this moment in life. If they've got a really strong Jupiter, the dragon might think like, not only is this really good, but we can even go further with this. You know, maybe not only is this new item, you know, it's like, I don't know, something like innovative, like, you know, like if you've got like a wooden straw or something. The world is so full of plastic and crap, you know, these people invent like a wooden straw, right? And they're like, you know, I know that that's going to be good, and the world needs it, and the dragon is aware of those cultural things of like, right now the culture needs this wooden straw. They'll come out with it and they'll make a thing for it, and then they'll say, you know, like, if they've got a strong Jupiter, they'll say, that's really good. In fact, I think we can even make something else that's even better. You know, let's try to go for another thing. A strongly Saturn person, especially a strong dragon person, might be okay if all of the numbers for this little job, this business, this career are like showing good growth. They see growth coming from the future. Maybe they'll focus more on this job, and that's like, you know, good enough to keep them just above the equilibrium line, and that's going to give them the life that they want to live, and that's good enough, you know? That's kind of like Dragon and Aquarius and Saturn sort of thinking. If they can make more, they'd be interested in it, but they won't sacrifice their security for the possibility of more when there's a possibility that if they go to that other job, it's going to take mental energy away from this job. They won't do that. They'll stick to the one that they know works. A strong Jupiter might be able to have them having several things that work, right? Because, you know, these are the kind of things that we got to consider. Although maybe that might even be more of a fire thing. There's a similarity here. Jupiter's more like, no matter how many times you fall, the Saturn person will get up again. Mars is like, no matter how solid this job is, I bet that we can do even better. I bet that we can get several of these going on and keep it strong. So that's what a strong fire, that's what a strong Mars and a strong Sun would do for this Capricorn or Aquarius Saturn-ruled person. Now, I hope that made sense, folks. A lot of the times I'm just trying to smash all these different figures together in a way that's sensible anyway, and including, you know, several pictures of several things at once, including the Dashas, the dragon, the Saturn energy. Pulling it all together, folks, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. Now, after we just talked a lot about the nature of Capricorn and Aquarius energy. I'm just going to sign in here so that I can see if anybody's got any questions or comments. And after this, we are going to delve into the nature of the dragon a little bit more. And we're going to see how the dragon, with its own sense of realism, but it's sort of strong, authoritarian thing too. That's okay, Nay West, no problem. I kind of figured that's what you meant. This makes the most sense. Thanks, Creepy Kitten. Antonio the Builder. We got Jupiter and Capricorn. Capricorn's best sign. Well, Capricorn's best planet is Saturn. If you've got like Saturn in Capricorn or Saturn in Aquarius, it does well. Capricorns also really love Venus. So that's like, well, again, we've talked about how Capricorn has a tough time with Libra. Like, I wonder if you mean Goosey in romance or in dealing with other people. Capricorn does very well with Taurus and Virgo, especially. But they also do well with the water signs, too. They do well with Pisces. Cancer, they have a tough time with. And Scorpio even can be kind of meh. Although Scorpio's ruler, Mars, is exalted in Capricorn. So Scorpio and Capricorn, yeah, Capricorn loves Scorpio, and Scorpio loves Capricorn. I'm a Scorpio, and I'm fucking just crazy about Capricorn. Just crazy about it. They give me such a feeling of strength. Like, you know, I've got this Mars thing, and I'm just so hungry to go places, and like Capricorn, like feels that I've got that, and they're like, oh, you're so cute, and I'm just like, quit it. Yeah, cool, Creepy Kitten. I'm glad you agree. So, but Capricorn does well with like Gemini and Aquarius, although, you know, Capricorn and Aquarius can bump into each other a little bit. They're both taking the Saturn space and trying to deal with it, but in different ways, so they can kind of frustrate each other. And I was going to say, yeah, Jupiter and Capricorn. Okay. All right, folks, so I'm going to go to the... I got a few more slides here before we start talking about our Chinese astrology. Yeah. Then we'll do that, and then I'm going to go to the bathroom. So we just talked about the sun Just about Saturn's energy in general, and Capricorn and Saturn energy. The sun is, yeah, so we talked about Saturn energy in general. Now, this is to say that the sun, the energy of the sun as it relates to the sun in Capricorn or Aquarius. The sun's like your mission in life. It's the Atma, it's the solar system center, whose energy powers your chart. It's like a drive that gives you an important drive to get wherever you're going. The Pancha Tattva ruler of the sun sign, so the Pancha Tattva ruler of the sun signs we're talking about is Saturn for Capricorn and Aquarius. This planet can tell you much about yourself and what activities you tend to involve yourself in. This whole slide is basically to say the sun in active signs, which are fire and air signs, that's 4 element. So these people are more proactive and outgoing towards the directive of Saturn, of their Pancha Tattva. So this is to say Aquarius. Aquarius is air in the 4 element system. They're more proactive and outgoing and less reserved towards their Pancha Tattva directive. They're a little bit more open to dealing with the exchange of energy that Saturn inevitably involves, especially when it comes to a group. When Capricorn's in a group, they would rather be quiet and reserved and have the patience, but they prove themselves by their endurance and their just get it done already, you know? And even Aquarius can like wheel and deal with so many groups that ideally when Aquarius is in its fullest expression, it has several wheels turning at the same time, and they're solid and they're stable and they're just conducting electricity. They're conducting energy and they're generating it. You know, they've got stocks in this portfolio and stocks in this portfolio. They got this job here and they got their mother taking care of the kids while they do this thing, you know, all these sorts of things. And in their highest expression, they do that well. Capricorn is the same, but it's more familiar. Less wheels turning, but the wheels that do turn better. You know, Capricorn's sun, having the sun in Capricorn, it's like a late winter, so they tend to be late bloomers. People with the sun in Capricorn. Saturn is slow, it's patient, it's diligent. And so anyone with the sun in Capricorn, generally, Aquarius is like this too. They're both ruled by Saturn. So they might not get their ideal expression of their sun figured out right away. They've got the makings of one who would, but they have to prove it to themselves and also to the world. And so Capricorn is just a bit more of this less wheels, but more energy being turned by those wheels. And they're both good at making these things happen, you know? Capricorn is like the end of the chakra system of Earth. If you know, I'm reading into Ryan Kirksack's idea of what gives the signs and planets their energy. The top of the sort of head of the planet is like it starts at Leo and it ends at Capricorn on the front of the planet, and then the back of the planet starts in Aquarius and ends in Cancer. Long story short, Capricorn is like a deep expression of one's personal will, sort of condensed and crystallized. Aquarius is more like an inspired sense of how we all can have a group which can help us all express our wills. Right? There's kind of a difference between Capricorn and Aquarius there. Capricorn sort of deals with the end of things in a lot of ways and is just looking down the line. So is Aquarius, but Aquarius is more open to like, what can we do right now to make all these wheels turn best? Now, feel free to pause this and read it, but essentially what this is saying is that when we're dealing with the combination of Chinese astrology and tropical astrology, we got to remember that this is something that the world has never dealt with before, except since the last like 100 years. There's no books written on Capricorn Sun coming through the year of the dragon. There is now, since like the 50s and 60s, people have been writing about these things. But like with Western astrology, when we talk about the sun being in Leo, people have been talking about that for like 3,000 years. In the West as well as in Vedic. Vedic astrology has been around for 5,000 years or even longer, you know? And they've been talking maybe not 5,000. I should be careful with my dates. I'm more of an energy guy than a historian, but I'm interested in history. And the Vedic gnosis of the divine knowledge of astrology has been active for 3,000 years plus. So when we talk about the strength of Saturn in certain signs, the strength of the sun in certain signs, and their relationships to each other, these are things that have been stewing in human consciousness for 3,000 years. Now, the dragon energy is just as ancient. The Chinese have been talking about how if you've got the year of the dragon as your year sign, but your day sign is, or your day master, the day stem is like, water. I'm a water horse, so the water of my day master is like my main part. And if I've got dragon year, that's the dragon's main energy is yang earth. And my yang water and my year signs yang earth can kind of clash. That is information that has been around for 3,000 years or longer. Same kind of thing. They've been stewing on it for forever. And they have their own whole poetic symbology for the expression of the nature of these elements. And interestingly, they also come through a 5-element system, just like how the Vedic anciently comes through the 5 Pancha Tattvas, and they do link up in a certain way. But we cannot consider that the fire Pancha Tattva, which is ruled by Scorpio, Aries, and Leo, we can't say that they're similar to the fire triad of Chinese astrology. They're two different symbologies. There's similarities we could see. Like Venus rules water in Western astrology. And Venus also rules water in Chinese astrology, because there's the same sort of dissolving the boundaries between things. But, you can't say that you're like a Cancer sun, and that's got the water of Western astrology. You can't say that because you're a Western sun, if you're lacking water in your Chinese chart, if you've got so much if you've got so much earth, and you're all fire and earth, you have no water in your Chinese chart, you can't just say, well, I'm a Cancer sun, so that compensates for that. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. We're talking about two completely different energy fields. And that's the kind of thing that I deeply want to express in these videos. That's why we're talking about them. Ultimately, there's no science by how these figures come together. But there are symbols, there are themes, and there are motifs. And there are points when the main nature of the dragon, for example, meets the nature of Capricorn and Aquarius. And we look for points of confluence. Confluence is key. Meaning if there's something about the dragon, like the fact that they're realistic, they're driven by the numbers, they have a gut instinct for what's best, they can shun emotions if they need to in order to get to the highest place that they want to get, Those are all very similar themes to Capricorn and Aquarius, for better or worse. You got to understand that this particular combination is strong where it's strong, and it's also weak where it's weak, because they're similar in a certain way. The Earth sign in Chinese astrology, like I said, is ruled by Saturn. Dragon is a yang Earth sign. And so, and Capricorn and Aquarius are also ruled by Saturn. So there are confluences here. When they're strong, they're very strong, but they're going to have flanks. They're going to have weak points, and they ought to know where those weak points are, so that they can be more conscientious about possible pratfalls and pitfalls in their ultimate conquering of the universe, which they often kind of tend to. Although that's more of like a Leo, that's more of a fire Pancha Tattva dragon. Again, Capricorn and Aquarius is just concerned with doing very well. They don't want to conquer the world per se. But they want to conquer their field, and they want to be well known as being someone who did very good at it. So, there are points of what we call confluence, where the themes of the Chinese chart and the themes of the Western chart are coming at each other, and it's these points of confluence which we seek as primary pillars in our chart so that we can effect the greatest constructive transformations in the neurological field of body and mind. Hit your energy field where it's most effective towards your reality. That's what we're trying to talk about here. Yeah. Love rapping about this stuff. So I'm just going to go to the bathroom, folks. Then we're going to check out our comments. Feel free to leave some now, and we'll poke around at them. And then we're going to continue talking about the nature of the dragon as it relates to the Saturn-ruled Capricorn and Aquarius. I'll be back. Hello, hello. How y'all doing? Black tiger would be water tiger, and red rabbit would be fire rabbit. There's a color code. This is in response to Nay West. There's a color code in the Chinese system. Good to hear, Goosey. And the color scheme just relates to each animal in Chinese astrology has its basic expression. The rabbit is yin wood, so it's a natural wood energy, but there's 5 different types of rabbits. For example, if you were born in 1999, then you're the earth rabbit. 12 years later, if you were born in 2011? Yeah, if you're born in 2011, that's the metal rabbit. If you're born in 1987, that's the fire rabbit, and that would be the red rabbit. So that's where those color codes come from. Vedic astrology, I would say, originated in India in very ancient times. Again, I'd say about like 3,000 plus years ago. Of course, astrology is an eternal, timeless archetypal metaphysic. Vedic astrology is that eye of divine knowledge having come through Vedic culture about 3,000 years ago. That would be my answer to that. Okay, folks, feel free to make any more comments as you feel. We're going to keep on hacking away here. Now we're going to start talking about the nature of the dragon. Now, so the science of Bazi, or Chinese astrology, is quite new and untouched in the history of Western esotericism, and even in the Vedic tradition. The Vedic tradition doesn't talk about Chinese astrology. No one has, in Western astrology sense, has any concept of Chinese astrology. It's like it's numerical. It's not from observing the physical planets. Although the physical planets have to do with the qualification and derivation and grouping of the sacred geometries which Chinese astrology bases itself on. But that's just because, like there are 5 elements in Chinese astrology, and there happen to be 5 basic planetary energies in Western astrology, the 5 Pancha Tattvas. And so the Chinese grouped their geometrical numerologies and their possibilities of expression. It's like there's 5 different directions or doorways that energy could express itself through. And they thought, they were aware of the planetary energies, and they thought, let's define them by the 5, the penta, the pancha. And it happened to come through the crevasse of those 5 planetary energies. But it's essentially like it's numerical, has to do with how many times the moon has gone around the sun in a certain way. The moon has gone around the earth, rather, and the earth around the sun. And it's its own seasonal eye that the Vedic and the Western astrology, and in Babylon, no one touched it for whatever reason. Just the Chinese. That's why I think it's something very special. Now, all of my data regarding Bazi comes mostly, when I made these slides, I was purely about Master Zhongseng Wu, whose writings have been blessed by the president of the Chinese Taoist Association, Grandmaster Ren Fa-Rong. Let's see, I should have the other one here. I actually went down to meet Master Zhongseng Wu. This is a book written by his wife, Dr. Karen Taylor Wu, who is also a great, highly skilled Bazi practitioner, and she tells you how to calculate all the figures you see in a Bazi chart. And then this is the other book that I highly recommend, written by both of them, but this is more so Master Zhongseng Wu's words being transcribed by his wife. And I went to see both of them in Philadelphia, learning about Chinese arts and practices, and I got so much out of it. I should also recommend, I really got a lot out of Master Zhongseng Wu. Recently, I've been nipping at Master Mantak Chia with Inner Alchemy Astrology, and it's got some good stuff in it too. And I've fallen in love with Joey Yap. He's Fire Horse with Fire Rabbit Daymaster, and he's like awesome. He's got a great way of expounding. He's a good teacher, and he's got fucking deep. He's done some deep decoding of ancient Chinese texts, brought a bunch of Chinese texts together in the scriptural way, and plotted them through his whole system in a way that's seems very functional and well put together for Westerners. It's just awesome, and I'm starting to get into that. What I should say for now, at my present state of knowledge, Master Zhongseng Wu is very much the guy who's been guiding my knowledge of Chinese astrology and how the figures of the heaven stems and the animals relate to each other. Now, each Chinese animal, don't worry, we're going to basically go through all these. Now, each Chinese animal basically has 6 defining characteristics, and we're going to basically go through all of them. These describe the attributes that the dragon brings aesthetically to its relationships in love and business. It's really very much what the Chinese astrology is all about. We call it feng shui. The feng shui is like the harmony of the items in a room, is what we generally think of it. And that develops luck. That feng shui can also be taken to mean towards our relationships with other people. In the same way that if you've got like a red corner of the room and it's going to swell well into like a metal side of the room or side of the house. You know, if there's a room in the house where everyone can express their heart and fire energy, but there's also a room where they can cultivate internal wisdom and meditate and, you know, these sorts of things. When those things are all in a house, it brings a positive luck and expansion towards all the necessary parts of human reality. We can also take this feng shui luck to be seen in our social groups, where certain people represent that fire room and certain people represent that metal room, except that it's in our businesses and our group associations, our family, and in the people who dwell at our house. We develop what's called luck, and that's like feng shui. It's very much the consciousness of this Chinese astrology. We're going to talk about how the Western thing is more like, no matter where you are in the house, you're a Capricorn sun, and you're going to have certain desires that make you deal with your internal psychology and reality in a certain way. But Chinese astrology says, no matter what your Western chart is, you're going to have certain luck dealing with certain people as opposed to other people. And you're going to be even better if you know how what color your corner of the house is, if you know what color the corner of the other person's room in the house is, you know, fire and metal relating to each other, different triads relating to each other. It's like a people luck outside yourself. That's the nature of Chinese astrology at its deepest sort of heart. Extra-personal, interpersonal luck. I'm going to get to this point in one sec. Now we're looking at the sign of the dragon, Chen. They are a visionary. They're very much this sort of visionary consciousness. The yang earth in them is, yang earth is their primary energetic body. It's their primary element. They're one of the 4 earth animals. Excuse me, there's the ox, the dragon, the goat, and the dog are all driven by this sort of yang earth energy. And all 4 of them are sort of the consolidators of energy within their triangle. The dragon's triangle is the water harmony triangle. So that's like dragon, rat, and monkey. And these 3 all have a certain feng shui luck that they're trying to develop in their extrapersonal reality. They all have a deep desire to build a certain corner of the room. They like to hang out in the water corner of the room, and that is, they'll all get together and perpetuate this sort of consciousness, and they'll love each other if they meet each other and see that this person is hard about reality. This is what these people are. It's the water triad. They're kind of hard. They're driven to conquest, and they love to use their willpower to push other people, other competitors, other competing groups down, and to win that way. And the Chinese say, you know, whoever gets the last laugh really does win. And oftentimes it's the people in the water triad. The dragon is just like a menacing energy. Although what they say is that dragons win hard, but they also lose hard. Because of this willful energy, when they're just driven, if their whole thing isn't really in check properly, if they're leaning desperately on success in the world, and if the success that they seek is not also considered in a scope outside themselves, a lot of the time, dragon, at the start of their life, tends to have a heart, they might be bully consciousness. They might just be these hard-driven, outcast people. They might not, but there's the potential there for them to be this type of person. Although they could also be the jock that everybody loves. There's also plenty dragons like that. Who wins hard, right? But they can also lose hard. When they're so driven to be this top player, and they don't consider any internal resources that might help get them there. If they're not logical and impartial to the fact that their emotions do play an important part of their energy field, if they don't allow the support of others, if they don't consider the support of others as being logically a part of their greater luck, these people can climb well without all these things. That's the thing about the dragon, especially Aquarius and Capricorn dragon, is that they'll keep climbing. They'll just fucking keep giving her. And it might destroy them if they get success despite lacking all these things, and success is like this carrot that just keeps driving them, then they'll probably keep going for the success until their body just like, they've got just a dead body because they're not taking care of themselves, but they're still like, they're still trying to go for it. So if their will to win, if their will to survive is not ultimately based on something kind of compassionate outside of themselves, they might lose hard. There's plenty of dragons out there who just tried with so much willpower to climb to something. If that thing wasn't that solid, then they'll just, they'll lose on it, they'll get bitter about it, and they might, especially if the sun is in Capricorn and Aquarius, like they might never try ever again. And these people can be deeply sore losers if there's things in the chart that show that, especially if they've got a weak Jupiter, or if they're lacking wood energy too. Wood is like a vitality that pushes these people on. They have a bit of wood in them. They have a bit of wood in them, the dragon, because you'll notice that they are on this sort of ascending chi side of the energy field of the human body. So they've got some liver energy mixed in with their stomach energy. And the liver takes energy from yang earth is their main energy. They've got the secondary thing where their liver works extra hard to give them vitality, which means that they can be very focused in the immediate moment in their reality, like all the time. They're usually very on point when it comes to like mindfulness in the present moment. And they can have an enthusiasm. They just get super excited. If you ever really meet a dragon, there's lots of people that will say that they can be very scaly and cold, especially the Capricorn and Aquarius variety. But when you get deep down to the heart of a dragon, it's this resting, smiling serpent energy that's like got a deep wisdom in it, and it's just excited to just look at the data coming through reality. They just look at it all coming through, and there's just so much that I could put my power on, and they just watch it, and there's like a warm, fuzzy thing in there. It's just that when it comes out with its like readiness for reality, it's like smiling deeply on the inside, the dragon. It's this sort of Jupiterian wood energy that deeply keeps them going. If they have like no wood energy, they're going to be hurt in that way. And they usually don't. They usually have a good wood energy. It's just when this dragon thing, this enthusiastic energy comes out, it's like it's aware of its power, and that's why it kind of smiles. And it wants to use its power, and it just wants to use its power. It's excited to get it out. But it wants to see its power be used well. It's this part of this numbers of the yang earth thing. And so when those numbers aren't used well, when that energy, that vital energy is not used well, they start to get pissed. And then it's like, whoa, dragon's turning. Oh, shit. Everybody watch out, because he's got a lot of energy to get out. And if he hasn't found a place for this energy, which looks good on him and glorious to him, he's going to kind of turn on the situation and say, well, I've still got this anger energy, and guess what? It's got to go somewhere. So now everyone's got to deal with it. It's interesting to note that the monkey, remember the dragon is in the water triangle along with monkey and rat. Now, rat is pure yin water. It's in the water triad. It's the yin water energy body. It's at the bottom here. We can see the rat is at the bottom of the water cycle. So we're going to talk about how the dragon brings it's yang earth, and it moves things and it pushes things around, but it can also hold. It's more interested in, it's a gathering energy in a strong way. It gathers things to itself, uses its yang earth, and pushes like crazy. And we're going to see how this gives dragon the capacity to be a strong mover for the intelligence of the monkey and the resourceful intelligence of the rat. Even dragon's intelligent. Everyone in the water triangle is very intelligent, and they want to use their intelligence and their willpower towards directives that will carry them further down the line and make their lives easier. Something that dragon's definitely interested in. It's making their lives easier, putting their sunglasses on and cruising. That's like a dragon thing. But they are aware that they want to say that they're allowed to cruise because they put so much work in, and now their thing that they built up is kicking ass for them. That's all dragon energy in general. We can see that the dragon is on the ascending chi side of things. So they're innovators. They like to try. They're like the early morning energy. They're like spring energy. They like to try new things. They like to innovate. They like to experiment with aesthetic styles. They can be very showy and flashy. They like to be the initiators of group projects. They're coming up to the top of the thing, which means they're constantly trying these new ideas, and they really want to get into the fire. They really want to be on top, but they're not all about staying up there like the snake and the horse and the goat are. Snake and horse and goat just want a heavy expression energy, but they don't always have wood. They don't always have something to keep them up there. So dragon is really the most tenacious energy. Snake is very tenacious too, and they'll stay up top and they'll keep expressing, but they don't always have brilliant ideas to make sure that they can stay up there. Snake just stays up there because of its willpower and because it has thought for so long and so deeply about the field that it's dealing with. Dragon is that way too. Dragon thinks deeply about everything. But they've also got a go-by-feel energy. They see the trends in culture, and they can change themselves. They can change their job. They can change their enterprise that they've been building, especially as Capricorn and Aquarius sun. These people are going to be interested in having an enterprise that lots of people have their hands in. And when you've got lots of people that have their hands in something, lots of people are going to grip and say, look, this is looking really good right now, and we don't want to change it. Dragon is the type of person, especially Capricorn and Aquarius, when their eye is on the bigger prize. They'll look at everybody and say, well, I appreciate your opinion, but guess what? This group has been mine from the start because I am the fucking person who has put all the energy to start it from its foundation. It's attached to me, my signature's on it, and I know that my energy, my ability to move and to see cultural trends is the one that has gotten us here. So I know you're liking how things are going right now, but guess what? We're about to change things up a little bit more. And the dragon can move like that. They're at this side of the energy, they're always thinking of new ideas, but they're also grounded in the earth at the same time. This is what's cool about this particular energy. Dragon can be fucking unstoppable. We don't have any pictures of the Pancha Tattvas, unfortunately, or the 5 elements. But the wood of the dragon is in conflict with the earth of the dragon. Earth is its first thing. So that's the dragon saying, like, we don't want to change the thing too much because we know that the numbers are showing that there's positive growth in this direction. But it's the wood of the dragon that's these creeping roots that go and look out at the immediate environment, at the culture, at the global transformation of consciousness. Dragon is always looking at where all the biggest corporate names are moving their heads. In fact, like, you know, like Capricorn and Aquarius energy people, maybe not necessarily for the sun, but people with strong Saturn who are in the year of the dragon are the people at the top of the food chain. These are the people who own like big banks and big corporations and stuff. It's because they have developed a sense of what they know is a strong brand, a strong corporate structure that will be solid no matter what. Because it's attached to the world, it's attached to a need in human consciousness that is just unavoidable. And yet, they are also aware that, like, they've made it so, they're so earth conscious, they're so conscious of making this thing solidly reliable by the numbers, by the stocks that are coming in, and by showing we've got positive stock growth because this is going this way. They're also good media people and telling everybody, look at how good our business is doing in this direction, and hiding the things where it's not looking good to the company and then fixing them while also hiding them. And ultimately, this makes them solidly, it's yang earth. It's not yin earth. Yang means kind of able to move a little bit, but still structured and solid on earth. In the earth and the numbers, and the a conscious, constant sense of where the thing is in relation to everything else. It's the wood that comes in and says, not only is this good in this way, but the world is it's like the earth gives a sense of how the thing is in its own whole structure. Wood gives the sense in the dragon. It's the wood of the dragon that says, that is looking globally, that's looking at what other big corporate people are doing and the way the earth is moving, the way people and human consciousness is going towards. They're always looking at these big cultural trends, and that's when they've got this hand on this earth thing. Again, especially Capricorn and Aquarius is going to be like, they're going to be having built this organization from the root up, and so they've got their final say in it. And when everyone in the group is saying, dragon, this innovation is not the right way to go, it's going to be too hard for all of us to make it work. You're putting a lot of extra workload on us. Capricorn and Aquarius sun is going to say, you've stuck with me all this time, and it's worked, and it's given us a good amount of increase. Now we're going to push it a little bit farther. It's the wood that says we need to be able to move with our competition, and this is going to keep us solid and stable and even make us climb higher. Trust me. Well, you're going to have to trust me because I'm doing it. That's like the wood energy moving the yang earth of the dragon. It's a very powerful combo, and on top of all that, it has the water triad that said, what, you want to go? They will push. And if no one wants to deal with it, especially because if they got their name on the bottom line, Dragon's going to do what Dragon's going to do. Let's all hope that he did his research and he did his work to make sure that he knows that this combination, that this change in our group orientation really will be for the positive and beneficial. And a lot of times it is. A lot of the times the dragon is just doing it because he wants to keep his power, but if he's smart, he will have lots of advisors who are also helping him, giving him the sense of where he ought to turn this thing. Although ultimately the dragon's nature can make yes men out of people. The dragon always has to be sure. A Capricorn and Aquarius dragon will be sure about this. Like a Leo dragon has the problem of being the king. It's got a serious sense of ego. They're great leaders, but like a Leo dragon or Aries or even Scorpio dragon will have such a consciousness of their own seat in the hot spot that they'll be like, I'm the master of this thing, and people will say yes sir, and they'll turn people into yes men. Capricorn and Aquarius dragon are less concerned about ego and more concerned about them knowing that this group project is ultimately going to get somewhere. So when they're dealing with advisors, they're going to have an eye on the advisor, and they're going to be looking at all the qualities of the advisor, not just because they tell them what they want to hear. The Aquarius sun and Capricorn sun dragon will be looking at the advisor and say, tell me something that you don't think is good. And you better think of something, and it better be constructive, and it better really be a wise sense of a weakness that we have in our company. If you can't, then you're fucking fired. Anything. Give me anything that will let me know that you have the capacity to say no to me. I need that. It's a weird thing when you're dealing with an Aquarius or a Capricorn dragon, because they want you to show, like, they'll check your alpha and they'll say, like, show me that you belong here. And then you'll be like, duh, depending on your energy. If you're like, well, I think it should be like this, and the dragon will slam his fist and say, no, you're wrong. And then you'll be like, sorry. And then he'll say, no, come on, keep going. Let's keep doing the thing. It's like they want you to respond with strength and stand up for yourself. And then ultimately, there's going to be one last brimstone breath where he says, and that's final. And he'll storm away. And then you'll think, did that go well? I don't know. The Aquarius or Capricorn dragon just said his final note of yelling at me, and I don't know if I've pissed him off. But then he'll call you the next day and say, I need you to do a report on this, and it better be serious and real. You know, that's the nature of these people in a strong way. Numerical yin and yang. Well, dragon is one of the odd signs. So dragon is in the water triad. All the animals in the water triad, you'll notice, are yang. This is speaking to dragon's capacity to bluster its way past any boulder. It speaks to dragon's energy to just enjoy penetrating resistance. All of these animals are like that. Horse, monkey, dog, rat, tiger, dragon. They all like to penetrate through any given resistance just by their constancy and willpower and endurance. It's a certain dimension of yang. I always like to say that just because you're yang in the numerical order doesn't mean you're ultimately yang in your energy. Like, for example, the boar and the snake, they are energetic yang, but they're in the yin side of this numerical order. And it's like a two-way, it's like boar and snake are yang, and that they can stay and endure in something because they put all their energy towards one thing and they keep it there. But when you come up to them and you try to bug them, or if you're going to face them, they're not going to use their martial force. You know, they're not into penetrating things strongly and constantly. Dragon is double yang. They are yang in their numerical order, and they're also a yang earth sign. So there's a lot of yang going on there. Lots of penetrating against resistances. So people just love the feeling that there's a friction of resistance coming from the world, and that their strength and resourcefulness and willpower is slowly obliterating whatever is obstructing them. Whether it's competition, or whether, you know, like if they are trying to get in competition with other people and they want their side to be bolstered up, they want their support to be bolstered up, dragon will constantly tear away at that which is reducing the other group's solidarity with them. So long as they are showing solidarity to what dragon wants. But when dragon has several groups who are attached to it, they want their group to be like, okay, well, it's good that we've got all this support. Let's just let everyone know who's in the boss group within all these other groups. And they'll have ways of checking to make sure that other groups respect the dragon's group. It's this double yang factor. So the part of the yang is also coming from the fact that it's one of the four cardinal animals, like I said. But ox and goat are yin earth, and dog and dragon are yang earth, right? This comes from this mutability factor. The signs in the same modality they behave similarly, but towards different neurological directions. So that means that dragon and ox can get along pretty well. Of all these, and so can goat and dog. The goat and the dog can kind of understand each other, even though they think very similarly, but in different directions. Dog and goat can get into frustrations, just like ox and dragon can get into frustrations. But ultimately, dragon does okay with ox, and ox does okay with dragon. Dragon and dog generally can't deal. It's for the sake of the fact that they're both yang earth, and the yang earth is just in two completely different directions. Dragon is trying to expend the energy in the liver, expend its vital energy towards something productive out here. And dragon will stress out everyone else's wood energy too. But what the fuck else are we doing here, boys? You know, come on. Like, fucking, we've got a job to do. We want to kick ass in life, so quit bitching about the fact that I'm putting you on a job. That's like dragon. Dog is like the union lord. Dog will come in and say, I don't know if you're aware of this, Mr. Dragon, but you're going against a clause which we've all agreed upon from the start in order to make sure that no one has any emotional, territorial unfairness in our group corporation. And the dragon will just be like, piss off, man. We're a capitalist organization, and with my direction and drive, I'm going to make sure that we bend the rules, we bend what's necessary, and, you know, we do a judo trick so that in the end, as the Chinese say, we get the last laugh. And again, dragon often does get the last laugh. But if there's a dog in their midst, the dog, again, you got to understand that the dog can be very good for the dragon if they can understand each other. The dog will say, I've got to tell you where you're absolutely not doing this correctly. Or your dog is metal. Dog has got like lung and like large intestine energy. And dog, it's in the fire triangle, so it's interested in like loyalty and like inspiration and heart energy in a certain way. So when the dragon is being way too driven and is stealing everybody's liver energy and just stressing everybody out, we're supposed to keep working, and he wants to get the most out of us, dog will come along and say, okay, now we have to start breaking down some rules that we all agree with. And dog will say in a logical way, in the same hard, unforgiving, tenacious logic as the dragon has towards going forward, the dog has about supporting from behind. And so the dog will come out and say, these are rules that we all agree have to be met in order for us to feel emotionally comfortable in this group while we go towards the things that we want to do. And does everybody agree? And everyone says, yeah. And the dragon says, well, I appreciate your opinion. Now get back to work. You know? And then dog will be a serious thorn in dragon's side for this sort of reason. But ultimately, if they work together, dog will keep everyone happy and dragon will keep everyone profiting. That's how that's supposed to go, right? No matter what kind of resistance we share with each other in Chinese astrology, there's a way to intuit the wisdom that that person has towards reality and to get something from it without reducing your own way. Although there's only so much space in a house, you know, and when one corner of the house is taking more of the space, all the other corners have to make sure that the whole thing is in harmony, right? And dragon will eat the goat. That was the other thing I was going to say. Goat is just a bit too... Ox is strong enough to not be eaten by the dragon, although the ox is looking towards, in the same way the dog does, ox is looking towards everybody's better interests. And if everyone's better interests, if the dragon's martial force is going to show it that it is for everyone's better interests, the ox will kind of back down. The goat's just too sensitive to deal with the dragon. The dragon will eat the goat, the year of the ram. And you know, that just has its own thing. I've dealt with dragons, and I know their power, and I respect them. I'm a goat. I'm the year of the goat. And I'll just deal with them the way they are. I've got a strong Saturn, so the dragon sometimes will come along and just say, I know that you won't fight back, so go and do this job for me. And I'll be like, okay, if it makes you happy, if it keeps me with this fucking company, fine. I'll go and I'll do the thing. And then I've got my own ways of climbing my own internal mountain that are going to get me somewhere eventually anyway. But it's good for a goat not to be pushed around by the dragon too much. Is this energy helpful and complementary, or does it overdo the balance for the Pancha Tattva? The yang earth of the dragon. Well, basically, we should be kind of talking about the hidden stems there, too. Of course, I would say that this is a huge benefit to Aquarius and Capricorn. This nature of the dragon that we've talked about, I wonder if I should do this like this. Yeah. This nature of the dragon that we've talked about, which is so driven by the numbers, the driven by the numbers factor, like yang earth, is just a great thing for any Capricorn and Aquarius sun. Because Capricorn and Aquarius, other things in your chart, you know, if you got a weak sun, weak Saturn, or you're in a period where your job is not like your most important thing, you know, Capricorn and Aquarius would do well to always be cultivating a sense of sacrificing themselves for the worth of the group that they're in, or the enterprise, or the material project that they've been building on, or their capacity to build a project that is going to last through time. They should really consciously, constantly be cultivating that. The dragon's stomach rulership is going to always be kind of, they're going to be chained to it in a way. They're going to be chained to the feeling in their stomach that everything is going good or bad. And if everything is not going good, they're going to be like, oh, I've just been so worried about this job. I got to get a better job. I got to go to school. I got to get something that is going to make it so that my stomach is not rumbling right now because I don't feel like ultimately secure. Dragon is very concerned with feeling ultimately secure financially, power-wise. It's trying to cultivate a sense of its own power for the now and for the future. Dragon wants to feel like I've got all this energy and I have to feel somewhere down the line that I'm going to have the security of a job that will allow me to keep my expression of not only my personal sense of power, but also my ability to analyze the numbers of things and my capacity to be a leader who is aware of those numbers and who can direct a company towards where they got to kind of go. Dragon's stomach is going to be feeling if they, you know, if they get stuck in like a GM job. Let's say we've got a dragon who's working on the GM line. They drop a bolt into a thing, and then the other person does the next thing, and all they're doing is dropping a bolt all day. The dragon, well, if they feel that there's a deep center of power and strength in the company, they might keep that and never really do anything much else. They might just be a homebody person or just someone who just goes and drinks at the bar and is just rowdy and raucous. And as long as I got my job where I throw in this little bolt into this one thing and I got pension, I got benefits, and I got all these things, I got what I need. You know, the GM plant in Oshawa just went kaput because various sort of reasons. I guess I don't really want to get into it. But, you know, if there were any dragon people who are thinking, I've got a whole life that I can build up from this. You know? It's like if you're a dragon mother who's a Capricorn or Aquarius and you fought to get in GM to a comfortable place where you felt like the security is good there for you, then it's like, okay, well, I've got these kids and I've got 3 of them and I got to put all 3 of them through college. And that's coming along, time's coming along. I got this job, and I've gotten down to the nth degree all the dollars that I have and that I'll need to get these kids through college. And then, you know, GM goes kaput, and you've got this dragon mother who's been so concerned with having a solid, secure thing to take their energy and put it towards their kids. When that secure thing gets yanked out from underneath them, their stomach is gonna be like bing, 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 not safe, not safe, and they're gonna be like, oh, I've got to find something else to do now. And yeah, that's a messy situation, that kind of thing that I just expressed. There are lots of people in Oshawa who are getting fucked over for this sort of thing that I'm talking about. But different energy people might find different ways of dealing with that. These people are probably going to look for another way to secure their security again, so they can find a way to prove to themselves that they could give their children that high education and all these things, you know. A dragon mother with Capricorn sun or Aquarius sun would be interested in these sorts of things. And they would probably feel deeply fucked over if they had a cushy job, or not cushy job, but all those benefits and things, and then it got swiped out from underneath them. So these are the kind of things that these people are very much concerned with. Okay. Oh, cool. You guys are having a whole convo here. I'm just going to look through this real quick. Oh, cool. Yeah, Philadelphia was beautiful. Malcolm Young from AC/DC was a Capricorn, and Dave Grohl from the... Yeah, Dave Grohl is a Capricorn. Would you mind giving us some links to your books? Yeah, since you asked, Nay West, I'm just going to write that down. I don't do this all the time, but since you asked, links to books. If you are interested, Nay, I'm going to, at the end of this, I'll put it in the description for this video, of a whole bunch of books that I find are important to Chinese astrology as well as to Western astrology, just to give you a sense of where my consciousness is building all these symbols and archetypes from, since you asked. Kate Moss is a Capricorn. She's beautiful. All that expression and meditation in my crowded house only gets down in the bathroom. Yeah, no kidding, eh? It gets done in the bathroom. Yeah. It does happen, you know. I mean, feng shui can be a very powerful way of releasing tensions inside the body, because the external reflects the internal, right? So it's nice to have feng shui, nice to have a spot in the house to do these sorts of things. But at least you're doing it, Nay. If you've got a house that's just, you know, cramped and doesn't give you the ability to do that, in the same way, you can release the external tensions by finding ways of equalizing it internally. There's always ways of doing that. Get that sage going. I love you guys. I feel like dragons make me feel safe. I could trust them a lot easier. Yep. Ah, nice. Nothing wrong with that, creepy kitten. Leo sun is beautiful for what it is, like I said. The Leo sun, the sun is the king of the chart. Sun has trouble in Capricorn and Aquarius because the king is subservient to the job, or the horses and the vehicles who are carrying the king. You know, they're supposed to be subservient to the sun. That's a sort of Indian sort of, it can look like a gross way of things, but the sun energy, your spirit energy, ought ultimately to be what is like the center of you. And so Leo sun knows that I'm cultivating a sense of myself as being the center of my energy, and I'm taking care of myself, and it's not a bad thing. You know, Leo sun is a very strong expression. Especially like a Leo dragon, like I said, you know, when we talk about Leo dragon, we're gonna see the type of dragon that's, well, it's you know, every sun sign has the capacity to be powerful, depending on all the other planets in the chart, as well as the will of the person to be the best that they can be, and the most loving that they can be. Thank you for commenting, my dear friends. Now, okay, now we're going to start talking about the element triad of the dragon, and that's the water element triad. We're getting through here, folks. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do really quick, though? This video is turning out to be a long one. I'm just going to have a little swifty little drinkly pooply. I've been drinking every now and then. I like to get a little bit of this. My brother's got me onto like good whiskey. So to have like a shot of it with like a little bit of ice is fucking fantastic. I'm going to get that and a little bit of water. Yeah, so just give me like 30 seconds, folks, and I'll be right back. All right. Time's coming along. It's turning out that these videos tend to be about 2 hours and 45 minutes at the start. It's looking like it's going to be that. And then, like I said, at the end of this little video, we're going to do 2 more talking specifically about Capricorn and Aquarius dragon. Ah, you bastard. And we'll check out more comments the next time we look them up. Now we see here a picture of the 3 element triads. We can see that dragon, rat, and monkey are all considered part of the water element triad. This might look a bit confusing to some of you because in certain Western translated texts, these harmony triads are incorrectly labeled due to an improper inference from the signs that correlate with the Western zodiac. What I mean by that is that, for example, people say that the rat correlates with Sagittarius, they say that dragon correlates with Aries, and that monkey correlates with Leo. And so they think, oh, so the rat, monkey, and dragon must be in the fire triad. But like I said, the fire of the West is completely different from the elements of the Chinese. So if you're thinking that way, I recommend, in my personal orientation of these signs, just fucking skip that. Throw out any connection of the Western zodiac that you have to the Chinese zodiac. There are certain inferences, but just don't even think about it. Take the Chinese astrology completely from their own cultural emphases and elemental orientations, because they know how their symbols are supposed to go. And this is how traditional Chinese astrology takes the rat, dragon, and monkey triad. They consider it to be the water triad. And when they get together, they generate water. Chinese astrology, water consciousness. And the water, in their sense, is ruled by Mercury. Water is not ruled by Venus in Chinese astrology. In fact, I feel like I might have said that it was, but for the Pancha Tattvas in Vedic astrology, water is ruled by Venus, right? Now, this is a completely different energy field. In the Chinese, Venus rules metal. Mercury rules water in Chinese astrology. So dragon, monkey, and rat together are all pitted towards expressing a Mercury energy. It's a rational, productive, economical, efficient, culturally sensible, historically sensible consciousness. They're very playful they can be very playful, but almost in a pushy, like frightening sort of like martial sort of way. But they do like to spin the wheel and to have a sort of lightness. They've got a giddy, light energy that can come off as being almost like a childlike, like, you know, in the Grapes of Wrath where there's that really big guy and he's a little bit mentally slow and he tries to keep these mice in his pocket because he likes them and they're so furry. And so he grabs these mice and he puts them in his pocket and he doesn't realize that he accidentally crushes them. But it's because he's so excited, you know, oh, the little mousey. And he's actually crushing these things and not realizing it. That's like the energy of the water triad. They don't know their own strength, but they love to express it in a certain way. And they make up a triad. Now, the partners in your shared harmony triad, as well as your secret allies, these represent people who are psychically building the same kind of feng shui social network that you are. They are hanging out in the same corner of the room. So they tend to harmonize well with you. Keep in mind that, the dragon's secret ally is the rooster. In fact, we could talk about it. We'll keep going because right now we're talking about the harmony triads, but there's a secret ally for every animal. Rooster and dragon are secret allies. And when this combination gets together, the world can shake. Let's consider that, you know, George Harrison was a rooster while John Lennon and Ringo Starr were both dragons. And the Beatles were like just such a big thing. They did so much to the world. They were a combination of rooster and dragon consciousness. We often see the rooster and the dragon together on Chinese menus and things, where the dragon's on like the bottom left and then the rooster's on the top right. Those are two strong animals in Chinese consciousness in general. Has to do with, like, you know, the dragon being like vital chi energy of wood, and rooster being a conscription, a conscientiously discerned place for that vital energy. Rooster loves dragon, loves his just outpouring of strong vital energy, and rooster's a fucking warrior in his own right. Nobody can ultimately outdo the dragon for his ability to summon vital force and just to keep like they're so tenacious, and even if they're wrong and even if they know that they're wrong, I'm still gonna win this thing. Rooster is like the only person, well, rat and monkey can get through to the dragon too through their own sense of logic, but they don't even prefer to do it with like the dragon's same forcefulness. The rooster is the only person who can is so tenaciously always pecking at the dragon that in a way that they know that the dragon appreciates and the dragon kind of needs. The rooster can take the brimstone breath of the dragon and just knows how to sort of evade it and just move it around. And look, man, I know you're just doing this for your own frustrated ego's sake, but for everybody's sake, you're going to be better if you're constricted to a time schedule. Because that's like the wood, the vital nature of the body, needs metal, needs that discernment, needs that someone with a checkerboard finding places to put it, because it is like blind energy. We need the metal part of ourselves to constrict and discipline that vital energy that we all have towards meaningful, discerned, practical purposes in material reality. That's why rooster and dragon do so well, not only in our own energy field, because our own energy field contains all 12 animals, but also in the externalized example of a rooster and a dragon getting together. Now, that's the secret allies, but essentially here what we're talking about is the harmony triad: rat, dragon, and monkey. And each of them brings something to the table. Dragon is the cardinal cultivator and collector, the gatherer. Rat's a gatherer too, but rat like is in the mutable sphere. So rat is best when it's more adaptable. It's not stuck on one thing. Rat is best when it can find its own path of joyous exploration of the environment around it and of history and of trends of culture and research. Rat is such a great researcher, great historian. And rat, if the dragon knows that rat kind of beats to its own drum, just like dragon does. So dragon will say to rat, okay, go and do your research in your own way. Of course, rat will have to fight for the dragon to trust it in that way, but the dragon will trust it in that way because the rat will fight, and that's a language that the dragon speaks. Impress me. And rat will be like, fucking here it is, buddy. You know? And so rat will impress the dragon with its capacity to do what it does, and it's mutable. So the rat is best going and finding all the little nooks and crannies regarding the field that they're both mutually operating in. Monkey is more of an energetic, it's a fixed energy. Monkey will be the guy who, between rat and dragon, all three of them will have a sense of what they're talking about. Which is Mercury, which is like, how are we just going to get the farthest? You know, it's like, what's it all really about? Emotions aside, you know, racial appropriations aside, what's the bottom line, which is the accumulation of energy. What can we put ourselves towards a directive in, which will amplify and magnify our resources? That's what these three are all looking for. Monkey will like hold down the sense of what is going on. Monkey will build a business. Monkey will get in the groundwork and talk to people and establish a place for himself in this mutual corporation. Dragon's the one who says, okay, let me see what Monkey is doing. Rat, do a check on all the numbers that Monkey's got going on. And Rat will diligently work out the numbers that Monkey is holding on to. And Dragon will say, okay, good. Well, the world is changing, culture is changing, so let's move our whole business to fit this cultural change. And Monkey will wheel and deal and say, you know, I've got this fixed thing here, but I'll make it work if that's where we're going. You know, these three are such a powerful group together. So, you know, even in and above that, we're going to talk about the water triad as these sorts of things. But the point here is that your social styles and interests tend to be also their preferred style, the preferred style of people in your harmony triad. The shared enjoyment of mutual space brings out the luck and cosmic swing of the relationship between these signs. These sort of represent the primary grouping of where behavioral psychology is concerned in Chinese astrology. If you want to know what the dragon's really all about, aside from this yang earth stomach energy, aside from its woody vibe, the dragon's primary interest is to develop the feng shui network of Mercury-ruled water triad, which is monkey, rat, and dragon. They're all building subconsciously a network of people which accepts them for their desire to enact the water triad. That mercurial sense of productivity, efficiency, and kind of like willpower too. Got rat, monkey, and dragon are considered the first triad, and we call them the doers. These are the doers of the zodiac. I just want to get a quick peek. See if anybody's got anything to say about these things. still got to figure out how to keep myself from needing to sign in like this every time I want to look at the comments. But it gives us a moment to breathe. Okay, I see. You make pooping sound so beautiful. What I meant is like the drink of whiskey. A little drinky poopsy do. Me and my stupid own language. I don't know where to go with that question. Whether it would be stuck on John or Paul. Me thinking from a musical sort of way. I love George Harrison for everything that he is. But the music that John and Paul made as a musician, I respect John Lennon more. Because Paul McCartney, all he does is just make his mo granny music, you know? Paul McCartney just makes music for music's sake. John Lennon's music was like attached to the world in a way of wanting to move things. Because John Lennon was a dragon. Hello. He was a Libra dragon. And so he had a conscious, constant sense of the water triad, which is like, how do we move things? The water triad is just always concerned with like moving the dirt underneath things and like having a tidal wave of culture-bound shifting. It's like Mercury is this present moment, and the water triad is like, look, everybody, this is what it's pointing at. And John Lennon was like that. John Lennon wrote songs to make those motions. Whereas, you know, Paul McCartney was just writing songs about his dog. You know, Martha, my dear, I'm just singing to my dog. Right? Now, the water triad is called the doers. This comes from Theodore Lau's The Chinese Horoscope Guide to Relationships. And that's a pretty good book. That book gives you a pretty good sense of the relationships between the animals. This first triangle is composed of the doers. They are made up of the first, the fifth, and the ninth branches, or, respectively, the rat, the dragon, and the monkey. These personality types are hands-on people who love taking the initiative. They're self-starters, needing little or no motivation from others. They take initiative, and they don't necessarily they don't really need motivation from other people. They're the doers. They're just gonna do it. Of course, they work well together because the rat and the monkey and the dragon all know that, like, look, I'm just gonna just do this thing. You know, it's like when Dragon is putting on an entertainment show of some sort, and someone turns the lights on when a band comes on, and the band does this big flourish and they do this big epic song. The Dragon was too busy figuring everything in the show out that they didn't think to make the lights come on at that moment. But oh, look at that though. Someone turned on the lights right at that moment with that big explosive expression, right? And the dragon says, who was it that turned on the lights during that moment? And the rat or the monkey comes along and says, that was me. And Dragon says, nobody told you to do that. And the rat or the monkey says, yep. And the dragon says, good. Talk to me about it. Let me know what you would do generally. But good. I like that you took the initiative. That's how these people work together. It's like they all respect that they're these doers, these initiators, right? They make the space for each other to do it, especially because Dragon loves to be that person. So if he knows that the rat also loves to do that, he knows, therefore, that the rat will make space for the dragon to make a decision spontaneously. Anybody else might be like, ugh, like, how do I follow this guy? The dragon is always changing, and there's no pattern that I can follow. The rat will say, that's just how I like it, and so will the monkey. And they'll respect each other for going against any sort of, what's the word? Predictability. That was it. Innovative and positive in their way of thinking, the members of the water trio enjoy taking the lead, and their enthusiasm makes them capable and fearless leaders. Having little or no doubt about their abilities or what they want, these people are usually outspoken and opinionated. Eager to learn, unafraid to practice their beliefs, and their high-spirited in style. These people will have no difficulty in forging ahead. Do not expect them, however, to admit that they are wrong or to accept defeat graciously. It would be uncharacteristic for them not to assert themselves and try the untried, no matter what the consequences, for better or worse. Part of the problem with these people is that, if they're right, the whole world will learn something from their inspiration and their inspired insight. But if they're wrong, the whole world cannot stop them from making the wrong decision. It's just the nature of these people. Now we could see Capricorn or Aquarius in this context for a dragon might be someone who thinks that this business or this enterprise or this boss, I'm working for this boss and I'm going to show absolute loyalty to them no matter what. Dragon will be a little too savvy to let themselves ultimately be taken underfoot in this regard. But if they find a company and they are really looking at the details in their own way about how well this company looks like it's going to do, if the numbers, sometimes the numbers aren't always right, but the dragon will read the numbers, they'll read by their stomach's intuition. And if their stomach's intuition says, I'm not getting gnarled up, because the numbers look good, this company has some positive stocks going towards it, there's no cultural hammer that looks like it's going to come down on it, I might just invest very deeply in this company and in this boss and in this person, and I'll show leadership and loyalty to it. And they might miss some critical character development, character issues in the group, a Capricorn or Aquarius. They're just interested in, come on, everybody, let's just make the thing happen. And, the thing might not ultimately be destined to be a good idea or a good enterprise or a good business for some reason that the dragon couldn't calculate. But the Capricorn or Aquarius sun will say that this is an opportunity for me to struggle and resist and to fight the breakdown of this operation. And if it's a good operation, but it just needed someone to hold that strength and tenacity and integrity, it might turn out for the better. That the thing looks like it's meant to die, but they're like, no. Come on. Everybody, we got to just keep this going on. They might be the last man standing holding that thing. And if everyone else ditches them, this is an opportunity for me to prove myself, and I'm going to do it. The numbers haven't necessarily failed, even though this crazy thing that I didn't anticipate is happening, but I'm going to push it through. If they see sensibly that it's worth pushing it through because it is a good idea for some reason. Maybe the world comes and the world isn't ready for it. They'll just keep holding on to it. And somewhere down the line, it's possible that their insight might be correct and it might come through as having been a good idea. It's just needed someone to hold it. Ultimately, though, we could also see this as just being like Dragon Aquarius, like if they're in a group, they might really unnerve people more than is good. If we're talking about not Dragon being a boss, but just another subordinate in a company, the Aquarius is it feels good when it's got an opportunity to tell someone that you're supposed to be doing this. And if it's not their place, if they're not the boss yet, but they'll still feel good of being the boss's lackey, Aquarius, and saying, hey, you've got to, come on, everybody, we've all got to work hard and do this thing. And the water triangle in this person might make them go just a bit too far in that regard, and just really bully the shit. Like, they could be bullies, and they can be mean and fucking huck something from the other side of the room and just be like, oh, it wasn't me, or that kind of energy, just to unnerve the other person. And if they think that someone's weak in a group, they'll bend the rules until that person is weeded out of the group. It's not the friendliest thing. Sometimes they're right to do that, but, you know, I'm just talking about how this watery, you know, forging ahead, trying the untried no matter what the consequences, it can be for good or bad. Generally, though, these people are more practical than emotional. The water triad, remember, it's dragon, rat, monkey. They're more practical than emotional. They're more optimistic than wise, and more restless than reflective in pursuing their dreams. The three personalities of this triangle must always perform and act out their ideas to find happiness and success. They got to try it out and see it expressed practically in reality. They'll strive to make their mark by what they say and do, and they'll implement their ideas into reality by their own hard work and willpower. This is good to know for a dragon person who's Capricorn and Aquarius, to find other rats and monkeys and dragons that they can work with, because all of them will strive to make that mark and implement their ideas and work hard. You might not want to find another Capricorn or Aquarius one, though. Like a Capricorn dragon with like an Aquarius monkey might frustrate each other, because they're both looking to keep up this making a mark and being a person who contributes deeply to a group, and they might do it in different ways, and they're both that willpower style, the water triad style. But these people judge others by their accomplishments rather than by their words. What have you done? Prove it. They can be tough and competitive in their outlook, and you must impress them with strength and cooperation. But once they do give their wholehearted support and commitment, these doers will not easily abandon their objectives or principles. Part of what I was saying, like, you know, them going down with the ship if they really think it's going to be the thing, for better or worse. We could definitely see that the dragon in combination with Capricorn and Aquarius, as someone in the water triad, they have lots of opportunity. They're going to be looking for opportunities to prove to themselves that they're worth well in the group, and they're going to work really hard for it, and they're also going to push other people to be doing well in this group or to work their hardest. They're just, especially with Capricorn and Aquarius, they're just deeply unimpressed with people who are weak, with people who are not keeping up with what is expected of a group. And they'll be like bullies to people who are not measuring up to everyone else's contributions. Sometimes it's nice to have someone who positively encourages you to contribute the same much as everybody else. These people, they don't think that way. Why encourage him? He's fucking doing it wrong. That's like their way of dealing, you know? What's your favorite sign in Scorpio? I'm not sure what you mean here, Goosey. You mean because I'm a Scorpio, you're asking what my favorite sign is? 'Cause, like, I don't know. When I think of, like, you know, astrology is so complex. When I think of, like, an archetype in somebody that I deeply love, I love Capricorn. I love, love, love Capricorn. I love Virgo, too. I got Venus in Virgo, and they kind of make me go gaga a bit. I'm also crazy about Pisces. I mean, like, gee, you know, as a Scorpio, I might even say that I think, in a way, Pisces sun and Cancer sun might be the most enticing to me. Yeah, really, eh? That's funny, Nay. Yeah, so that's a tough one, Goosey. But I'd say probably as a Scorpio, I'd say, like, I'm most enticed by Cancer and Pisces sun. Although, you know, like I would really hope that they've got a fire moon like I do, because they can get a little bit deeply into themselves. I got Sagittarius moon, so my natural state is to kind of bug and tease. Ah, come on, baby, what's the big deal? And if they can't deal with that, I know that, you know, Pisces sun and Cancer sun can. When they see my deep Scorpio devotional way, they see that the Sagittarius moon is just a part of who I am. And so, you know, Pisces sun has a best friend energy with Scorpio. They got this chummy buddy sort of thing, and they tease each other, and it can be super sexy. So it's tough to say, Goosey, but I would say probably as a Scorpio, I would say Pisces and Cancer are my personal romantic favorite. Although I got a big bone on for Capricorn, just for, you know, I got Rahu in Capricorn and Uranus and Neptune there. And Capricorn, and I'm Leo rising, so Capricorn and Aquarius are both like my 7th house energy, 6th and 7th house energy. My Saturn, being my 7th lord, is technically in my 6th house. Capricorn is the 6th house of Leo. So I got a big, I love Capricorn to pieces. Yeah, folks, so we've just got these last few slides here, and then we're going to go into the next part of our videos. This whole thing, you can pause it and check it out. Basically, it says that, you know, this is me talking about the difference between Chinese and Western. Western's more about, like, what you are without a social context. If you were out in space, excuse me, if you were outside space and you were in like a space shuttle, you had nothing but your own energy. This is kind of, you would embody your Western chart. And even if you only had like one other person there with you, you could, the relationship between the two of you would probably be more about, like, you know, your Venus in contact with each other, you know, whether they're a guy or a girl. If you're a guy out on that space station and you've got to deal with another guy and only one person, it's more of your Western charts that will come out in relationship with each other. But when it comes to like sitting down and be like, so what do you do back home? The other person will talk probably about their Chinese astrology and say, well, I own a business, you know, I really, as a dragon, you know, I like to be a person who's attached to lots of people. I'm interested in culture, you know. And it's like, how is that person in a social, what is the preferred social context that the dragon would prefer to build, you know? But, you know, how you are when nobody's around is more of your Western chart. The feng shui network that you'd prefer to build is more about your Chinese astrology energy. The type of people you want to associate with in order to press forward with your subconscious corner of the house, your feng shui corner of the house, you know? That's more of a Chinese astrology thing. We're going to talk a little bit more about that every time we do these videos, so I only want to spend so much time on it. And then this is, we're going to consider the dashas as well. Essentially, if you're in a Jupiter dasha, it's going to help out your Saturn, because it's going to teach you that no matter what you do, you're in this world and you got to figure out how to do it for yourself. That's particularly if you're in Jupiter dasha. It's good for a dragon, Capricorn, or Aquarius, because the dragon, Capricorn, or Aquarius is going to put a lot of self-esteem and a lot of chips into what it has been doing all this time. And it might even, you know, dragon Capricorn or dragon Aquarius can get like bland because they're so driven by this Saturn theme of duty, of the numbers, of what's ultimately going to glorify them best. Or, you know, their personal, with the sun in Capricorn and Aquarius, the purpose of the self is found to be their capacity to be at work on time, to stick to their responsibilities and to do it, to do their duty. Jupiter will give them a sense that their duty could be much more purposeful than just showing up for some crappy job that they hate or don't care about. Jupiter Dasha will make this person think more deeply about the purpose in their life and find purpose. They might not even change their job over it, but Jupiter will make them find purpose in every small little thing and to feel satisfied whether it works out or not. Mars is more about, like, if you're in the Mars Mahadasha and you're a Saturn-ruled dragon, Capricorn or Aquarius dragon, the Mars Dasha might give you an opportunity to change your job, to climb towards some... It'll make you get a better sense of your own Mars energy. It'll make you see that thinking more logically and channeling your Saturn energy, your earthy stomach desire to do well energy, it'll make you more of a go-getter for it. It'll teach you how to be a leader, the Mars Dasha will. And if you've got a weak Mars, this is a perfect opportunity for you to not just get the job done, but also be satisfied in getting several jobs done very well and to be a leader. You know, because that Mars, those opportunities to do more than just what's expected can be very fulfilling for Saturn, for this Saturn sort of person. So keep that in mind if you're in a Mars Dasha. It's a great opportunity to forge deeper doorways to expressing your energy to its highest potential in a satisfying way. Good. Yep, so feel free to pause that and just give it a peek. Now we're at the part of the video where we can consider what other authors have said about this Western sunshine and Chinese sign combination. Whew. Yeah, we're looking at about, like, what? Let's see here. 7 o'clock. We've been doing this for 3 hours, folks. Today was probably the longest precursor video that I've done. So thank you so much to everybody, as usual, for sharing space with me. I really deeply love talking with you guys, especially to the ladies who have been sticking with me here. We got Goosey, Nay West, and I believe Creepy Kitten. I wonder if you guys are the 3 viewers I got right now. Nice. Thank you so much for showing up, and thank you so much for supporting me on this crazy journey to divulge the differences between Chinese and Western astrology. It really means a lot. Thank you. Now, our next video, we're going to kill off this video, and I'm going to set up another one where we are going to talk about the distinct impressions that various authors have on the energy of Capricorn Sun coming through the sign of the dragon and Aquarius Sun coming through the sign of the dragon, particularly relating to the sun sign. I hope you guys have been enjoying these series. We got lots more to come. Next sign is going to be Fire Pancha Tattva Snake. So that'll be Aries, Scorpio, Leo, Sun coming through the sign of the snake or the serpent. Thanks a lot for watching, folks. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about Capricorn Sun Dragon first.